Chapter 1387. Wu Hengxi stood up and looked at Wang Yu with a complicated expression. Then he said angrily, "Humph, let's go." With that, Wu Hengxi led the Assassin Kings Association out of the City Lord's residence. When they reached the entrance of the City Lord's residence, Wu Hengxi suddenly turned around and said to Wang Yu with a gentle expression, "If you're not married, I don't mind being your wife." When the Chuanjin people heard this, they all cast strange looks at Wang Yu. Wang Yu, on the other hand, turned his head expressionlessly and rejected Wu Hengxi with practical action. It was just like the attitude of the arbitrators in the South China Sea back then. They didn't even bother to participate in this kind of question, let alone answer it. After all, Wang Yu and Mu Zixian were a husband and wife who had gone through many hardships. The nature of their relationship had long become inseparable family. As the saying goes, it's difficult for one to see the ocean. Love, that child's play, stinky man. When Wu Hengxi saw Wang Yu's attitude, he curled his lips hatefully, turned around, and disappeared from the City Lord's residence with the Assassin Kings Association. TSK, Tisk, seeing Wu Hengxi and his group go far away, the Chuanjin people couldn't help but sigh. "Actually, that girl has a good figure," Wu Ji said with a wretched expression. "Most importantly, she knows how to disguise herself." Really? Everyone became even more excited. What a pity. Having her is equivalent to having the world. What do you think about letting her disguise herself as Tong Lia? You bunch of retarded antiques. If it were me, I would let her... All right, stop talking nonsense. Wang Yu's forehead was full of black lines as he interrupted everyone's lewd fantasies. Are you done yet? Wang Yu knew that the Chuanjin bastards were just joking about this matter, but with their retarded thinking, who knew what kind of nonsense they would say if they continued discussing? There was nothing wrong with everyone bragging to each other, but if Mu Zixian were to find out, then there would be something wrong with her. After all, women were not rational creatures. When faced with this kind of thing, they would definitely have their own thoughts. Wang Yu did not want to make Mu Zixian unhappy. After all, it was the same as using bullying to get a girl's attention. Using the opposite sex to make his wife jealous and gain a sense of existence was something only children would do. Ha ha ha. The Chuanjin people laughed and said, "Awesome, you're really afraid of your wife. Looks like the #1 expert in the gaming circle should be Madame Iron Ox. You know nothing." Wang Yu looked at the people of Chuanjin with disdain and said in the mature tone of Chun Xiang, "There are no men in the world who are afraid of their wives. There are only men who love their wives." Really? Everyone looked askance at Wang Yu. Of course. There are even men without wives. Wang Yu added lightly. Fuck. Everyone felt depressed. After playing around, Wang Yu and the others also left the City Lord's residence. Ming Du and the others naturally went to the daily dungeon, while Wang Yu and Wu Ji returned to the tavern. In the tavern, Blood Red War Flag had been waiting for a long time. Although the people of Chuanjin were the main force in the operation to capture the Assassin King Association, Blood Red War Flag still helped a lot. Not only did a few core players die, but they also acted as bait. Although the losses were not big, they still had to compensate for their mental state. It had to be said that the NPCs were really efficient. In just a short while, the tavern that was messed up by the Assassin King Association had already been renovated. Blood Red War Flag sat at the most obvious spot in the tavern. Beside him were Blood Shura, Blood Wind Whisperer, and other core members of Blood Alliance. Seeing Wang Yu and Wu Ji enter, everyone hurriedly stood up and greeted, "God Ox, Boss Wu Ji, over here." As it spoke, the Bloody Shura even moved the stool away for Wang Yu in an obsequious manner. Other than Wang Yu, the only person who could make the big shots of Blood Alliance so respectful was probably the boss of Blood Alliance. After Wang Yu and Wu Ji both sat down, Blood Red War Flag carefully asked Wang Yu, "God Ox, why did you ask me to wait here for you?" Wang Yu's personality had always been one of respect. Seeing Blood Red War Flag being so respectful, Wang Yu also said with some embarrassment, "Today, I was able to find the seal because of Boss Blood Red. You helped me a lot." "God Ox, don't say that." Blood Red War Flag said politely, "You and I are brothers, so we naturally have to help each other. You are treating me like an outsider. That's right, that's right. Blood Shura and the others also echoed. In the future, if you need anything, as long as God Ox has the word, our Blood Alliance will definitely come to support you. Did you see that? After all, they were once leaders. Even an idiot like Blood Shura would like to listen to them in such situations. Huh. Wang Yu smiled and said, even brothers should settle accounts clearly. Boss Bloodred, you have also lost a lot. This small amount of money is not enough to show my respect. Saying that, Wuji, who was beside Wang Yu, took out 5 bags of money, stacked them on the table, and then pushed them in front of Blood Red War Flag. These bags of money cost 10,000 gold each, a total of 50,000 gold. It was true that Xuanzhen liked to take advantage of others, but he was also loyal. When it was time to split the money, he would not give a single cent less. Having worked with Xuanzhen a few times, Blood Red War Flag and the others had seen how generous Xuanzhen was. However, this time, Blood Red War Flag and the others had only lost a few people, and Wang Yu had taken out 50,000 gold as a reward. This really shocked Blood Red War Flag and the others. They were even a little panicked. Meow, these two fellows aren't planning something bad, are they? Thinking of this, Blood Red War Flag hurriedly declined. God Ox, we didn't lose much this time. Isn't this too much? It's not much. Wuji continued. To move unhindered for so long, Xuanzhen doesn't have many friends. This time, Boss Bloodred was the first to step forward to help, so you definitely treat us as brothers. This relationship is more than just money. If it weren't for the greed of those bastards from Xuanzhen, I would have given you the other 100,000 gold. Hearing Wuji's words, Blood Red War Flag's heart calmed down a little. Only then did he feel relieved. Since Boss Wuji has said so, it would be impolite of me to decline. As he spoke, Blood Red War Flag kept the money bag. Seeing that Blood Red War Flag had taken the money, Wuji smiled and said, "That's a good brother. All right, I have a good project, Boss Blood Red. Do you want to do it?" Good project? Blood Red War Flag's heart skipped a beat. Then he asked, "What project?" Hee. Wuji laughed. "Boss Blood Red, have you heard of sea routes?" "Of course." Blood Red War Flag said, "Didn't you announce it yesterday? God Ox is really amazing. I'm impressed." "That's all fake." Wuji narrowed his eyes and said, "If there are no accidents, the sea route will be a good way to get rich. It's a pity that our Quanjun sect only has a dozen or so people. We can't manage all of this huge territory." Hearing this, Blood Red War Flag said in surprise, "Boss Wuji, what do you mean?" Pada. Chapter 1388. The people from Blood Red War Flag had never eaten pork before, but they had seen pigs run. As the higher-ups of Blood Alliance, the people from Blood Red War Flag naturally recognized what Wang Yu had thrown on the table. Gulp, seeing the Saga City seal on the table, the people from Blood Alliance involuntarily swallowed their saliva. Then Blood Red War Flag asked excitedly, "Nyoga, what does this mean?" He. Wuji said with a smile, "Our Xuanzhen has always been good to brother guilds. Of course, we have to earn money together. Old Cow now has 2 main cities under his name. He plans to transfer this seal to your Blood Alliance." "What? You're not joking, right?" Hearing Wuji's words, the jaws of Blood Red War Flag and the others dropped to the ground. At the same time, they subconsciously pinched their cheeks as if they couldn't believe it. "Of course not." Wang Yu said, "I'm very serious. I never joke about this." Indeed, Wang Yu had given the transfer of the main city a lot of thought. Whether it was in reality or in the game, it depended on one's size. No matter how arrogant Xuanzhen was, they only had a dozen people. How could 3 main cities manage them? One had to know that when it came to shipping routes, the starting point and the main 2 ports were cities that benefited from it. The more benefits Port City had, the more benefits Saga City would have. It was definitely not Wang Yu and Xuanzhen's character to watch what belonged to them be taken away by the Japanese players. However, if they wanted to control Saga City, they would have to face the harassment of Black Dragon. The dozen or so people from Xuanzhen were already busy managing 2 main cities. If there was another one, it would be even more difficult. Instead of watching the benefits being taken away by Black Dragon and not getting a single cent, it was better to transfer this main city to another big guild. At the very least, they wouldn't be able to keep the benefits to themselves, right? The only major guilds that Yu Huichang could contend with the Black Dragon Gang were Finger the Heavens and Blood Alliance. Blood Alliance was a veteran major guild, and they had a good relationship with Chuanjin. Naturally, they were the best choice for Wang Yu to transfer. Give me some time. Seeing how serious Wang Yu was, Blood Red War Flag hurriedly discussed with Blood Wind Whisperer and the others in the channel. As a large guild that wanted to conquer the world, the Blood Alliance's ambitions were not small. To the Blood Alliance, a main city was the foundation of conquering the world. Just as Wuji had said, only with a main city as a base could one be considered a feudal lord. Weren't the three brothers Liu, Guan, and Zhang in the last years of the Eastern Han dynasty awesome? Even without a city, you still had to work hard. All this time, Blood Red Alliance had been sullen in Afterglow City. There had never been a large guild like Blood Red Alliance that had been suppressed by a small group. So, conquering the world was only a dream in Blood Red War Flag's heart. After all, if they couldn't even control a main city, what right did they have to talk about conquering the world? Wang Yu's Castellan seal could be said to have directly ignited Blood Red War Flag's hope. However, everything was afraid of the word, but Blood Red War Flag and the others had been in contact with Chuanjin for a long time, so they naturally understood the personalities of Chuanjin's group very well. This group of people always had the bad reputation of taking advantage of others, and would rather die than be taken advantage of. How could their things be taken so easily? Moreover, it was something as valuable as the Castellan seal. With Chuanjin's personality, wouldn't they go bankrupt? At the crucial moment, Blood Red War Flag's rationality won over their desires. After thinking for a while, Blood Red War Flag cautiously said, "God Nyo, this thing is too valuable. As the saying goes, I don't deserve a reward without doing anything. I don't dare to take it. I won't let you take it for free." Wang Yu heard this and said indifferently, "There are conditions for the transfer." "I knew it." Blood Red War Flag let out a long sigh of relief and said, "What conditions?" Blood Red War Flag didn't know if it was too cheap, but if Wang Yu didn't have conditions, it definitely wouldn't dare to take the seal. Wang Yu nodded and said, "It's very simple. That is, it must become Yu Huicheng's subsidiary city. In rebirth setting, 10% of the subsidiary city's income had to be paid to the subsidiary city, and the subsidiary city also had to be under the control of the subsidiary city. Of course, as the subsidiary city, Wang Yu also had the obligation to protect the territory. To put it bluntly, the reason why Wang Yu transferred Saga City to Blood Red War Flag was because he wanted to find someone with the power to suppress the Black Dragon Guild to take care of Saga City. Blood Red War Flag was one of the top guilds in the country. Chuanjin was completely at ease when they did things. If they sold the main city seal at once, it would at most be worth a few 100,000 gold. If they transferred it, they could have a fixed income. Based on the income of a port city, 10% was quite a hefty sum for a small guild like the Quanjin sect that only had a dozen or so people. At the very least, it was better than leaving Saga City idle and letting all the income flow into the pockets of the Japanese people. Oh, subsidiary city? Blood Red War Flag didn't hesitate at all and decisively said, "No problem." Blood Red War Flag was a big guild and had done this kind of thing many times before. Blood Red War Flag definitely understood Wang Yu and Wuji's cautiousness. Of course, Wang Yu didn't have any intention of hiding his purpose. Chapter 1389. After signing the contract, Wang Yu and Wuji left the tavern. Along the way, Wuji had a sinister smile on his face. Wang Yu was speechless and asked, "Look at how perverted your smile is. Did you set a trap for the Blood Alliance again?" Wuji was full of evil tricks. With his personality, he might be up to no good by smiling so lewdly. "No," Wuji said, "I'm laughing at the Black Dragon Guild." Wang Yu was stunned. He asked in confusion, "Black Dragon Guild? What does it have to do with them?" "Huh." Wuji laughed and asked, Who else knows about you stealing Saga City's seal apart from us? The Black Dragon Guild, Wang Yu said without hesitation. Isn't that right? Wu Ji said with a smile. The Assassin Kings Guild must have been bought by the Black Dragon Guild. What do you think they'll do when they see the world announcement? Hearing this, Wang Yu was speechless. This brat Wu Ji was really too evil. Conning people seemed to have become an instinct of his. Meanwhile, the people of the Assassin Kings Guild had just left Yuhuicheng. When they saw the world announcement, they had complicated expressions on their faces. The giant god of southern heaven looked at Wu Hentzi and mumbled, "Damn it, those be***** starred from the Chuanjian sect really can't keep their bones in a doghouse. They sold the seal so quickly. Do you think the Japanese from Wen Nation saw the world announcement? They can." At that moment, a player from the Assassin Kings Guild, called Don't Sleep in the Day, said, "The announcement is for the entire continent. Now, that immortal abode island belongs to the hero's continent. They should be able to see it." "Damn it," the giant god of southern heaven said gloomily. "We're doomed. They know we failed the mission, so they'll definitely ask us for compensation. Do we have enough money now?" "Compensation?" Wu Hentzi frowned. "The money is in our Assassin Kings Guild's hands. There's no reason for us to return it." Isn't that inappropriate?" The giant god of southern heaven was troubled. The Assassin Kings Guild relied on their reputation. Wouldn't that be destroying their reputation? "It's all right," Wu Hentzi said. "From the start, we didn't say what the 500,000 is for. If the other party asks later, just say that the 500,000 is a down payment. If the mission fails, it won't be returned." "Ugh, so you were waiting for them here?" the South Heaven giant god said with a blank face. "Nonsense," Wu Hentzi said. "I never wanted to give them the seal in the first place. How can we make a losing deal?" "That makes sense." The members of the Assassin King Association all gave him a thumbs up. He could even say that he was in the right, as expected of a boss. Just as Chuanjian and the Assassins Association had expected, although Immortal Abode Island did not belong to the national server sphere of influence, it belonged to the hero's continent. At this moment, Liuya and the other Black Dragon Guild players saw this announcement. Two system announcements alternately sounded above the hero's continent. As expected, Liuya panicked when he saw the contents of the announcement. He immediately sent a message to Hoya. "What's going on?" "Damn, I've already paid the money, but not only did I not get the seal, but it was also used by the other party." Liuya was absolutely furious. Originally, Liuya did not let the headquarters boss know that the seal had been stolen from Saga City. Now, with a global announcement, wouldn't everyone know? Liuya could feel the headquarters boss' anger, even though he was thousands of miles away. He was also panicking. After receiving Liuya's message, he hurriedly said, I'll go offline now and contact those Chinese players." After saying that, Liuya went offline. However, just as Wang Yu and Wu Ji returned to the City Lord's mansion and made plans with Chuanjian and the others to clear dungeons, Wang Yu suddenly received a system notification. "You have a call. Would you like to go offline to answer the call?" "A call." When he saw the notification, Wang Yu paused. There were not many people who knew Wang Yu's phone number. Aside from his family, only Chuanjian's people knew. Chuanjian's people were currently online. Mu Zixian and Evildoers Run Wild were also online. The person calling him was definitely not an outsider. It was most likely his parents. Therefore, Wang Yu did not say anything else and went offline. After taking off his gaming device, Wang Yu picked up his phone. He saw an unfamiliar number on the screen. He threw it on the heart-wrenching, lung-splitting ringtone. Wang Yu frowned and pressed the answer button. At the same time, a familiar voice came from the phone. "Yo God, save me." Wang Yu was confused by the other party's voice. He asked curiously, "Who are you?" "It's me, Blood Red War Flag." "Yo God, help me." The other party shouted, "Oh, it's you." Hearing the other party's answer, Wang Yu finally remembered the owner of the voice. However, he was still puzzled. "Didn't we just meet in the game? Why are you calling me?" Blood Red War Flag said with a sobbing tone, "We are trapped. Come and help." "Trapped?" Wang Yu asked. "Were you trapped?" "Saga City," Blood Red War Flag said miserably. Everyone was curious about new things, and Blood Red War Flag was no exception. They had just obtained a main city that belonged to them. It was their first time becoming a city lord. Blood Red War Flag inevitably got carried away. Naturally, they could not wait to take over Saga City. Since Saga City had now become an affiliated main city of Yuhuicheng, Saga City was now divided into the area ruled by Yuhuicheng. According to the rules of the system, as the affiliated party, Wang Yu had the authority to teleport between two main cities. He could use the teleportation formation to go back and forth between main cities, and he could also give teleportation authority to others. As the city lord of an affiliated main city, although Blood Red War Flag's authority was not as good as Wang Yu's, it also had the ability to teleport directly from Yuhuicheng to Saga City. Blood Red War Flag was an extremely wasteful guy. It did not consider whether the local natives would react to the sudden arrival of a city lord. It directly teleported to Saga City with Bloodwind, Whisper, and the others. The result could be imagined. Huo Yuya was also an acting city lord. He had already set up an ambush near the teleportation formation. As soon as Blood Red War Flag landed, it was ambushed. Blood Red War Flag only had the authority to teleport out of Yuhuicheng. It did not have the authority to return to Yuhuicheng. Moreover, teleporting directly to the teleportation formation was a landing sign. Although Saga City was under the jurisdiction of Yuhuicheng, it was still located on Yingzhou Island. Blood Red War Flag and the others who were registered in Saga City naturally could not send message. If it were not for the city lord having the authority to mobilize guards, Blood Red War Flag and the others might have ended up worse. Even so, Blood Red War Flag did not have a ship, and they could not return to Yuhuicheng for a while. They had no choice but to go offline and call Wang Yu for help. I got it. Wait a moment. Wang Yu was a person who was easy to talk to. After learning about Blood Red War Flag's predicament, he immediately put down the phone and went online in a hurry. Chapter 1390. What is going on in Saga City? Although it was just a short sentence, it caused Huo Yuya's heart to turn to dust. The reason was that the one who sent the message was the boss of the Black Dragon Guild, the Black Dragon King. Everyone knew that the Black Dragon Guild was a corporate guild and had a strict hierarchy. From a practical perspective, the Black Dragon King was the CEO of the Black Dragon Guild. As for Huo Yuya, his upper limit was the general manager of a division. According to the rules, if there was a problem with Huo Yuya's side, it should be Huo Yuya's superior who contacted him and let him report the situation. Finally, the headquarters would handle it. But now, the Black Dragon King was personally asking about it. It was clear how serious the matter was. There was no helping it. The Black Dragon King couldn't be blamed for this. If the general manager didn't do well and the division company suffered losses, the Black Dragon King couldn't be bothered with such a small matter. But what was going on with Huo Yuya? Not only did he not earn anything, but he actually lost the division company. What was worse was that the division company was in someone else's hands. The Black Dragon King couldn't sit still no matter how calm he was. Since the boss had personally asked, Huo Yuya definitely wouldn't hide anything. He could only tell the whole story of how the Chuanjin sect stole Carl and then gave the City Lord seal to the Blood Alliance. Chuanjin, Japan's esport industry wasn't that great, and the Black Dragon King was a businessman, so he definitely didn't know anything about Chuanjin. Seeing how Huo Yuya described Chuanjin as so difficult, he couldn't help but ask, how many people does Chuanjin have? When Huo Yuya heard this, he was stunned. As the boss, he was able to get to the point and hit the spot that Huo Yuya didn't want to talk about the most. How was Huo Yuya supposed to answer this? Although Saga City was a small city and the number of neon players was far less than that of Huaxia, there were still 50,000 to 60,000 players in Saga City, which was equivalent to the population of Afterglow City during the open beta, of which the Black Dragon Guild took up a third of the population, close to 20,000 players. On the other hand, Chuanjin only had a dozen or so people. 20,000 players had been stolen by a dozen or so people. Even Huo Yuya felt like he was dreaming, much less the others. Bosses don't care how difficult the problem is. They only want results. If Huo Yuya didn't tell the truth, then it would be a problem with his character. Chuanjin was so famous that if the Black Dragon King wanted to get information about them, He could do it with a single word. There was no point in Huo Liuya lying about this. But to tell the truth, it was a matter of ability. With such a low ability, wouldn't he just pack up and leave? Huo Liuya didn't dare to lie to the Black Dragon King and didn't want to leave either. Thus, after thinking for a moment, he chose a more neutral answer. It was just that he went against his conscience and replied, Xuanjin isn't important. The main thing is that Blood Alliance has the numbers. Oh, as expected, the Black Dragon King was successfully changed by Huo Liuya. He then asked, how many people does Blood Alliance have? Huo Liuya broke into a cold sweat and quickly reported Blood Alliance's information. Blood Alliance is one of the top 10 guilds in China. Their average level is 52, and they have close to 30,000 players online daily. It's very powerful. The Black Dragon King thought for a moment and said, I have heard that China's players are strong, but why didn't you report such a big thing to the headquarters? This, Huo Liuya quickly said, I thought that I would be able to snatch it back. I didn't think that the opponent would be so difficult to deal with. The Black Dragon King said calmly, these are all objective reasons. Anyways, you're responsible for this. Write a report for me. Then wait to be dealt with. I understand. Looking at the Black Dragon King's message, Huo Liuya relaxed and let out a sigh of relief. Wait to be dealt with. That meant that he still had a chance. If not, the Black Dragon King would definitely tell him to scram. As for writing a report, that was to be expected. Compared to losing his job, the punishment was nothing. Speaking of work, Huo Liuya couldn't help but ask, Boss, what about Saga City? You don't need to worry about it. Bring the person back first. The Black Dragon King said, the headquarters will send people to deal with it. While Huo Liuya was being reprimanded by the Black Dragon King, Wang Yu reconnected to the game and returned to the mayor's residence. Seeing Wang Yu return, Wu Ji and the others asked curiously, what happened? Why did you leave in such a hurry? Sigh. Wang Yu sighed and was speechless. Blood Red War Flag was blocked by someone. Blocked by someone? Wu Ji was a little surprised. Could it be in Saga City? It seemed like Wu Ji understood Blood Red War Flag very well. After all, Blood Red War Flag had no natural enemies in Yuhuicheng other than Xuanjin. If they were blocked by someone and went offline to call Wang Yu, he definitely wouldn't be in the service area. So it could only be in Saga City. That's right, Wang Yu said. I will go and get him back first. With that, Wang Yu left the mayor's residence. Blood Red War Flag's group stayed in the teleportation circle and didn't go far. Looking at the surrounding Black Dragon Guild players, Blood Red War Flag felt very sullen. In any case, he was the city lord. How could he be surrounded and attacked by his own people as soon as he showed his face? This was definitely the first time in history that a mayor behaved like this. Blood Red Shura was even more dissatisfied. Boss, did we fall into Xuanjin's trap again? This kid had no brain. Blood Red Shura's behavior could be said to be straightforward, but it could be said that he didn't think before speaking. Such an obvious thing, who here couldn't see? Why do you have to say it to slap Blood Red War Flag's face? What's more, everyone was still hoping that Xuanjin's people would save them. By saying this, wasn't it obvious that he wanted to make things difficult for Xuanjin? What good would it do to make things difficult for Xuanjin's people? Just as Blood Red Shura finished speaking, he heard a familiar voice say, At first, I didn't think that just a few of you would dare to take up the post. Blood Red War Flag and the others heard the voice and quickly turned around. They saw Wang Yu standing behind them with a speechless expression. Blood Red War Flag quickly said, And I know God, we didn't mean that. It's okay. Wang Yu waved his hand and said, I'm not Wu Ji. You don't have to be afraid. TSK, TSK, TSK. Who would have thought that Wang Yu really thought that he was a good person? In fact, if it wasn't for him, no matter how sinister Wu Ji was, he wouldn't be able to do anything to the Blood Alliance. You're too humble. Blood Red War Flag was stunned and sighed. Wang Yu smiled embarrassedly and gave the Blood Alliance teleportation permission. With a flash of white light, everyone disappeared in the teleportation circle. Chapter 1391. Without a sea route, Saga City was a desolate place. For the Black Dragon Gang, it wasn't a big deal. After all, the Black Dragon Gang already occupied 5 of the 3 islands and 6 cities in Ingzhou. The Japanese players had already recognized them as the rulers of Ingzhou Island. Huo Yuya's main goal in Saga City was to fill the position of City Lord and Guard Carl, who had the City Lord seal. In other words, he was a jailer. Now that the power of Saga City was in the hands of Blood Red War Flag, there was no point for Huo Yuya and the others to stay. Moreover, Blood Red Alliance was not easy to deal with. The average strength of their players was higher than the Black Dragon Gang, and they had more people than the Black Dragon Gang in Saga City. If they really fought, Huo Yuya definitely wouldn't be a match. In particular, Huo Yuya had blocked Blood Red War Flag to vent his anger. Blood Red Alliance and the Black Dragon Gang were enemies. If they didn't run now, would they just wait to be killed? It was good enough that they didn't get fired after losing the city. If this was investigated, Liao wouldn't be able to take the blame, even if he had several heads. Since the boss, the Black Dragon King, had given the order to retreat, Liao didn't hesitate to run away. Yu Huicheng, inside the teleportation point. With a flash of light, Blood Red War Flag and Wang Yu appeared in front of Yu Huicheng. "Okay, is everything okay?" Wang Yu asked. "Everything is fine. Thank you, God Ox. Once this is over, I will come and thank you." Blood Red War Flag excitedly thanked Wang Yu. After saying this, they led their people out of the teleportation point. "You aren't thinking of bringing people back for revenge, are you?" Wang Yu asked from behind. "Yes." Blood Red War Flag stopped and nodded in response. Blood Red War Flag might look like a coward in front of Chuanjin, but to be the leader of such a large guild like Blood Red Alliance, how many of them were truly cowards? Blood Red War Flag did not have a good temper. It was the lord of a city, yet a group of players had inexplicably surrounded it and humiliated it. How could Blood Red War Flag tolerate this insult? At that moment, Blood Red War Flag was furious. Their only thought was to call their subordinates to flatten Saga City and let the players in Saga City know who was the real boss here. "Oh, go then." Although Wang Yu felt that Blood Red War Flag might be at a disadvantage by rashly taking revenge, he also knew that Blood Red War Flag was gaining momentum. There was no need to pour cold water on them. Watching the Blood Red War Flag members leave, Wang Yu was about to join up with Chuanjin and the others when he heard Wu Ji sigh. "Tsk. I'm afraid that old Chi's trip to Saga City bodes ill rather than well." Wang Yu looked in the direction of the voice and saw Wu Ji and the others standing not far away from the teleportation point, their faces full of sympathy. "Do you think so too?" Wang Yu walked over and asked Wu Ji. "Nonsense," Wu Ji said confidently. "Black Dragon Guild is not a pushover. This guild occupies 3 islands and 6 cities. Just Evil Matai and Saga City add up to hundreds of thousands of people. Blood Red Alliance only has 30,000 people. Do you think they can take advantage of us?" Wang Yu couldn't help but nod when he heard this. Wu Ji was right. Large-scale battles were different from small-scale fights. Once the number of people exceeded 1,000, it could no longer be called a fight. The players' tactics and formation were the most important. It was true that Blood Red Alliance's individual strength was strong, but in this situation, Black Dragon Guild's numbers were several times that of Blood Red Alliance's. If they fought, Blood Red Alliance would most likely not be able to hold on. After all, everyone was a normal person and not a professional general. In such a large-scale fight, it was still a battle of numbers. Of course, whoever had more people was stronger. This isn't the worst part. Just as Wang Yu was feeling sad for Blood Red War Flag, Wu Ji said, "The key is that they're going to cut off all means of retreat." "Cut off all means of retreat?" Wang Yu was confused. "What do you mean?" Wu Ji said, "Sanctuary Island isn't under the server's control. If Blood Red Alliance wants to return, they will have to go by sea. Do you think they will have a boat?" Wang Yu was startled. There was no sea near Yu Huicheng. Boats were too far away from Yu Huicheng's players. If Blood Red Alliance used the teleportation formation to teleport over, then it would be hard for them to return. If that was the case, Blood Red Alliance would have to fight to the death with Black Dragon Guild. It was either you die or I die. Black Dragon Guild was a local. Not only did they have hundreds of thousands of players in Yama Platform and Saga City, The other two islands of four main cities also had a large number of reinforcements. Blood Alliance was far away and alone. The only thing they could do was to fight to the death with just 30,000 people. In the game, players could revive if they died. Even if Blood Red Alliance could block one wave of attacks from Black Dragon Guild, could they block endless attacks? Moreover, Blood Red Alliance was unfamiliar with the place and didn't even have reinforcements. They could only rely on their current players to fight to the death. They didn't even have a path of retreat. It was just a matter of time before they were killed by Black Dragon Guild. As for whether or not Saga City was broken through to the isolated Blood Red Alliance, it was just a matter of dying sooner or later. Damn, why didn't you say anything when Blood Red War Flag was here? Realizing this, Wang Yu opened his friend's list and said, I will send a message to Blood Red War Flag and tell him not to go. It's useless. Wuji waved his hands to stop Wang Yu. Do you think you can persuade him now? He won't believe me even if I tell him now. Even if we help, we shouldn't help now. Then how long do we have to wait? Wang Yu asked curiously. Hee hee, Wuji laughed. Wait until they realize that they are at the end of the road. Wang Yu was speechless. TSK, TSK, TSK. One could say that Wuji was good at attacking people's hearts. As the saying went, those closely involved could not see clearly. Right now, Blood Red War Flag was on the rise. Moreover, they were extremely confident in their own guild. Even if Wang Yu explained the importance of this matter to them, Blood Red War Flag would not listen. Not only that, Blood Red War Flag would probably think that Wang Yu was being a busybody. But once things developed to a point where they couldn't control it, that would be when Blood Red War Flag started to doubt their own lives. If he went to help now, it would be the same as being pulled up before death. Only then would he be able to highlight the importance of Chuanjin and also be able to buy people's hearts. As the saying went, it was better to provide help in times of need than icing on the cake. Wuji really understood human nature. At this moment, Chun Xiang asked Wuji, for what you said, you seem to have a way to change Blood Red Alliance's situation. Chapter 1392. At this point, everyone understood what Wuji was trying to say. One had to say that Wuji's ambition was bigger than what everyone thought. Wang Yu's goal in transferring Saga City to Blood Alliance was to not let Saga City remain idle. However, Wuji's goal was one of the 3 islands in Yingzhou. Damn, you are so cunning. After understanding Wuji's ambition, everyone sighed. Even Wang Yu couldn't help but feel that he was too young. No wonder Wuji agreed to transfer Saga City to Blood Alliance so easily. He had planned this from the start. It seemed like, as the leader of Chuanjin, Wuji wasn't someone who would take a loss. Okay. Wuji waved his hand and said calmly, let's go and clear dungeons. After the daily dungeons, it should be time for us saviors to appear. TSK, TSK, TSK. Everyone sighed. He had tricked them, but in the end, he was able to make them feel grateful. Was there anyone more shameless than Wuji? Blood Red War Flag was a swift and decisive person. Just as the Quanjin Sex group left the city to clear dungeons, Blood Red War Flag also hurriedly gathered all the members of the Blood Alliance. Blood Red War Flag was the boss of Blood Alliance. As their leader, Blood Red War Flag was being bullied, so naturally, the Blood Alliance players would lose face. Moreover, what was the most exciting thing about playing games? It was PK. A big guild like Blood Alliance should have been a bully. However, after being in Yuhuicheng for so long, Blood Alliance had been suppressed by Chuanjin. The old players of Blood Alliance had wanted to cause trouble for a long time. Hearing that there was a fight going on and that it was against the Chinese players' most hated Japanese dogs, the Blood Alliance's mood could be imagined. They wanted to fly to Saga City and beat up those idiots who didn't know what was good for them. In less than half an hour, the tens of thousands of Blood Alliance players had gathered at the Blood Alliance's base. 30,000 people was just a number, but if one were to really stand in one area, the visual impact would be very shocking. At this moment, the Blood Alliance's base was filled with people. Looking down from above, it was filled with people. Describing it as a sea of people wasn't an exaggeration. Blood Alliance was so big, and there was no lack of players who could keep up with Wuji. For example, Blood Alliance's honorary vice, Guild Master Blood Wind Whisperer, was one of them. When Blood Red War Flag shouted that it was going to take revenge, Blood Wind Whisperer sensed that something was wrong. However, Blood Red War Flag was furious at the time, so Blood Wind Whisperer did not dare to go against Blood Red War Flag's momentum. However, seeing that Blood Red War Flag was serious this time, Blood Wind Whisperer could no longer sit still. A sense of collective honor was something that lone players couldn't understand, but most players had the same sentiments. As a veteran player of a big guild like Blood Alliance, they had an indescribable feeling for the guild. At this moment, Bloodwind Whisperer could not just watch the guild die. Therefore, Bloodwind Whisperer tried to dissuade Blood Red War Flag. Boss, I don't think this is appropriate. Should we talk about it later? We don't even have helpers if we go now. What nonsense! As expected, just as Wuji said, Blood Red War Flag was now extremely confident, so dissuasion would not be effective. Blood Red War Flag stared. We have more people than them, and we are stronger than them. Beating them is as easy as killing chickens. Why do we need helpers? That's right. Blood Shura also chimed in. Wind Whisper, why are you scared now? What the F***CK? Bloodwind Whisper did not dare to scold Blood Red War Flag, but it did not dare to scold Blood Shura. Originally, Bloodwind Whisper was in a bad mood after being scolded by Blood Red War Flag. Seeing that Blood Shura also came out to cause trouble, it immediately said angrily, "What do you know, you idiot? If something really happens, we won't be able to come back, even if we wanted to." Blood Shura was naturally not to be trifled with. After being scolded by Bloodwind Whisper, Blood Shura panicked and said in a strange tone, "Hee hee, Bloodwind Whisper. When our Blood Alliance is fighting others, you don't even say a word, but when we're fighting the Japanese dogs, you are trying to stop us. Are you a traitor sent by the Japanese dogs?" You. Hearing this, Bloodwind Whisper was furious. What the hell was going on? He was thinking for the sake of the entire guild, yet he was labeled as a traitor for no reason at all, leading so many people to their deaths. That was the real act of a traitor, all right? The speaker did not mean it, but the listener did. Bloodwind Whisper was a core member. Of course, Blood Red War Flag would not be stupid enough to be on the same level as Blood Shura. However, the Blood Alliance players heard everything Blood Shura said. In an instant, the entire guild base of Blood Alliance was in chaos. They all shouted their slogan, "Trample Saga and destroy the Japanese dogs. If we don't go, we aren't China people." Right? Once the hatred of an individual or group rose to the level of patriotism, it was considered a sublimation of the situation. With the slogan being shouted like this, it was hard for anyone to back down. Not to mention the fact that Bloodwind Whisper did not have any authority to speak. Even Blood Red War Flag would not be able to control the situation at this time. If Blood Red War Flag dared to call off the operation now, they would probably be labeled as traitors like Bloodwind Whisper. At that time, Blood Alliance would probably lose at least half of their players. Because of this, a portion of the Blood Alliance players who originally thought that Bloodwind Whisper made sense were now trembling in fear and did not dare to speak carelessly. They were afraid that if they said anything wrong, they would be treated as traitors by their teammates. Who would want to be a dog instead of a human? Seeing that the guild players were so angry, Blood Shura looked at Bloodwind Whisper with a proud face and provoked, "Humph, coward. See the power of the people? Do you still dare to defend the Japanese dogs?" "Defend you, my ass." At this time, Bloodwind Whisper naturally did not dare to oppose anymore, but he still scolded angrily, "You idiot. You will regret it sooner or later." "Ha! Traitor, you don't like it, right?" Blood Shura shouted when he heard that. "Do you believe that I will throw you into the crowd right now?" As he spoke, Blood Shura rolled up his sleeves and was about to attack. At this time, Blood Dark Knight, who was on good terms with Bloodwind Whisper, pulled Bloodwind Whisper's sleeves and said, "Forget it, don't talk anymore." Sigh. Bloodwind Whisper looked at Blood Red War Flag and then at the Blood Alliance players below. He shook his head helplessly, sighed, and did not speak anymore. Without Bloodwind Whisper's opposition, Blood Red War Flag felt that it was much quieter. He immediately waved his arm and shouted, "Let's go. Trample Saga and destroy the Japanese dogs. Trample Saga and destroy the Japanese dogs." Chapter 1393. Blood Alliance surged into Saga City, wanting to wash the country with blood. However, when they arrived, they were dumbfounded. At this moment, there was no one left in Saga City. While the Blood Alliance players were gathering, the Black Dragon Guild had already led the Saga City players to retreat. Saga City had been ruled by the Black Dragon Guild for so long, so the Saga City players didn't dare to resist. Who dared to disobey the Black Dragon Guild's orders? They had been forcefully moved to Yamatai City. Facing the empty Saga City, the Blood Alliance players were in an extremely awkward situation. They had come aggressively, but they had come empty-handed. This kind of situation really caught them off guard. From the guild leader of Blood Red War Flag to the normal players, everyone in Blood Red Alliance was like a deflated balloon. Their hearts were filled with grief and anger, and the thousands of words they wanted to say could only be condensed into one word. F***CK. This word contained the depression, anger, and unwillingness of all the Blood Alliance players. It felt like reading a book. The main character was about to make a comeback, but at the crucial moment, the author died. Everyone could probably understand this feeling. If the author died, they could still scold him. However, the Blood Alliance players didn't even know who to scold. They had nowhere to vent their anger. Vent at the guards? They definitely didn't dare. Did they want to destroy the buildings? What a joke. Once the Saga City players left, it would truly belong to Blood Alliance. Destroying their own things to vent their anger was equivalent to smashing their fellow countrymen's cars on the streets. Was there anything more stupid than that? Seeing the Black Dragon Guild players all leave, Blood Shura cursed. F***CK. This group of cowards must have known that we were coming for revenge, so they quickly fled. Fortunately, they ran fast, otherwise we would have killed them until they became whiteboards. Bloodwind Whisper frowned. That's not right. Why did they retreat? There must be a trap. Trap my ass, Blood Shura said in disdain. If they don't retreat, are they waiting to die? Or are you hoping that they will ambush us here? Crimson Wind Whisperer could not be bothered with Crimson Azura anymore. Crimson Wind Whisperer looked at Crimson Azura speechlessly, then quickly said to Blood Red War Flag, "Boss, I think we should retreat as well. Hurry up and contact Oxgod to help us. Otherwise, something will definitely happen." Retreat? Are you kidding me? Hearing Bloodwind Whisper's words, Blood Red War Flag didn't say anything, but Blood Red Shura shouted again. Did you really collude with the Japanese dogs? Now that they have abandoned the city, you want us to retreat? Do you mean to give Saga City to the Japanese dogs? It had to be said that although the Blood Azura was mentally retarded, his thoughts were always irrefutable. In this situation, for the Bloodwind Whisper to retreat, no matter who heard it, it would be strange. Hearing the two arguing, Blood Red War Flag looked at Bloodwind Whisper with a hint of suspicion. It could not help but say, "Wind Whisper, why are you acting so weird today? Boss, you suspect me too?" The Crimson Wind Whisperer was stunned when it heard that. It staggered a few steps back with a look of disbelief on its face. No. Blood Red War Flag quickly waved its hand and said, "But retreat is absolutely impossible. It's not that I don't agree. It's that all the brothers in Blood Alliance won't agree. I have to listen to the will of the people." Did you see that? Leaders are good at throwing the blame to others. But Bloodwind Whisper still wanted to say something, but Blood Red War Flag waved its hand and interrupted. "This is our main city. Since we are here, let's not treat ourselves as outsiders. Everyone, prepare to take over the main city." After saying that, Blood Red War Flag walked towards the direction of the City Lord's mansion. After receiving the order, the Blood Alliance players began to disperse and familiarize themselves with the new environment. Siamatai, Black Dragon Guild Headquarters. Huolyoya, who had successfully moved people to Siamatai, followed the Black Dragon King's order and brought a report to the Black Dragon King's office. The Black Dragon King was a short and strong man with a serious expression on his face. Seeing Huolyoya enter, He pointed to the seat next to him and said, "Please sit." This was the first time that Huo Liuya was in close contact with the Black Dragon King. He sat down next to the Black Dragon King uncomfortably. Everyone has been moved. After Huo Liuya sat down, the Black Dragon King asked indifferently, "Yes, they have all been moved to Siema Tai." Huo Liuya nodded and then said with some doubt, "But there is one thing I don't understand." "Speak." The Black Dragon King indicated for Huo Liuya to ask any questions he had. Huo Liuya didn't understand. "Our Black Dragon Guild has retreated. Why do we bring the normal players of Saga City?" "Kiki." The Black Dragon King laughed. "It's simple. The reason why we made everyone retreat was to exhaust their energy." "Exhaust their energy?" Huo Liuya was confused. "What do you mean?" The Black Dragon King explained. "There's an old saying in China. The first beat of the drums of energy, the second will weaken, and the third will exhaust. The Chinese have taken over Saga City, so they must have prepared for battle. As long as we don't give them a chance to fight, then their energy will weaken. They will also let down their defenses. At this time, as long as we take advantage of this, they won't be able to withstand a single blow." "What do you mean?" Huo Liuya's eyes lit up. The Black Dragon King's words were filled with killing intent. It was obvious that the Black Dragon King didn't want to give up Saga City. "That's right." The Black Dragon King nodded. "Tell your subordinates to prepare. What a man has lost, he has to find it himself." "This really?" Hearing the Black Dragon King's words, Huo Liuya was very excited. Huo Liuya originally thought that after losing Saga City, he would never be able to make a comeback. He didn't expect the Black Dragon King to give him a chance to start over. Huo Liuya was so touched that he almost cried. "Go! Wait for my instructions." The Black Dragon King waved his hand. "This time, don't let me down, understand?" I understand." Huo Liuya excitedly left the Black Dragon King's office. As soon as Huo Liuya left, the Black Dragon King sent a message. "Boss, the Chinese have taken over Saga City." "I know." The Black Dragon King replied. "Continue to observe. Inform me when the Chinese leave the city to level up." At this time, Yu Huicheng, Chuanjin, and the others had already cleared a few dungeons. However, Wang Yu was still worried about Blood Red War Flag. It couldn't be helped. Wang Yu was a righteous person. If he didn't know that Blood Red War Flag was going to be unlucky, it wouldn't matter. Now that he knew that Blood Red War Flag was going to be unlucky, and this matter was directly related to him, Wang Yu felt a little guilty. Chapter 1394. Wuji, should we go to Saga City now? Blood Alliance wouldn't have been wiped out, right? In less than an hour, Wang Yu had repeated the same words 3 times. He had no choice. It wasn't that Wang Yu had never conned people before, but it was Wu Ji and the others who brought it up. Wang Yu was at most an accomplice, and the people he conned were all strangers. This time was different. No matter what, Blood Red War Flag and Wang Yu were old acquaintances. Moreover, the transfer of the City Lord Seal was Wang Yu's idea. Wang Yu didn't think too much about it, so how would he know that Blood Alliance would be wiped out like this? If the Blood Alliance was really destroyed because of him, Wang Yu's conscience would definitely be filled with guilt. Wu Ji was annoyed by Wang Yu's questions and couldn't help but say, "Big brother, the Blood Alliance is a top guild in the country. Those second-rate players from Japan who only play single-player games would need at least 10 days to half a month to kill the Blood Alliance. Don't look down on them too much. I'm not underestimating them." Wang Yu said, "The key is that who knows what tricks Black Dragon Guild has up their sleeves. What if they ambush us at the revival point?" "Huh." Wu Ji laughed. "Blood Alliance is going to take revenge. Not only are they prepared to fight, but they are also full of vigor. Ambushing them is just asking for death. I'm afraid that they won't even dare to show their faces." At this point, Wu Ji suddenly paused as if he had thought of something. "Not good. I neglected something. What is it?" Baosan also came over and asked. Wu Ji sighed. "If Black Dragon Guild chooses to abandon the city, Blood Alliance probably won't be able to last one round." To place one's pride was stunned. "Wu Ji, are you joking?" "I'm not joking," Chun Xiang said confidently. Do you know what it means to avoid the sharp edge and catch the enemy off guard? In the era of cold weapons, human resources were consumed in wars, so the morale of a soldier was the deciding factor on the battlefield. Therefore, when encountering a troop with high morale, hanging a no battle sign or staying in the room could wear down their morale. Once their morale was worn down, the troops would start to slack off. At this time, if he launched a surprise attack or something, he could immediately reverse the situation. It was the same in the game. Black Dragon Guild had many players and they were locals, so they had the advantage. The first round of battle would decide the fate of Blood Alliance. If Blood Alliance couldn't even get past the first wave, their morale would be extremely low and they wouldn't even need to fight anymore. When Chun Xiang said this, Wang Yu also reacted and hurriedly said, "Not good. Quickly return." As he spoke, Wang Yu took out a return scroll from his pocket. Seeing this, the others from Quan Zhun sect also took out their return scrolls. Blood Alliance was a top guild, and the players they recruited were usually the elites of the first tier. Their average level was over level 52. Players of this level were no longer newbies and had a certain understanding of the game. They were able to adapt to a new environment quite quickly. In just an hour, the small saga city had been thoroughly explored by them. After familiarizing themselves with the main city, the players naturally didn't stay idle. They all left the city to level up and find dungeons. Very quickly, they entered a normal life. Although they couldn't contact their friends from the server here, with so many players from the same guild, they didn't feel lonely. Very quickly, the leveling area outside the city was filled with Blood Alliance players. However, all of this was seen by a pair of eyes not far away. At the same time, Black Dragon King received news. "Boss, those Chinese players have started to level up. Good job." Seeing the news from the scout, Black Dragon King smiled and then sent a message to Hua. "How's the situation at Evil Spirit Valley?" "Everything is normal." Hua, who had been waiting for orders at Evil Spirit Valley, replied. "Good. Now you can push forward. Be careful. Don't let the Chinese players find out," Black Dragon King said. "Understood," Hua Yoya replied excitedly. Then, he ordered his subordinates to advance. The tens of thousands of Black Dragon Guild's original Saga City branch passed through Evil Spirit Valley. Then, everyone scattered and surrounded Saga City in twos and threes. The tens of thousands of Blood Alliance players were also divided into many guilds. Not all of them knew each other. Although Saga City's leveling area wasn't as big as Yuhuaicheng's, it wasn't too small either. Tens of thousands of people were scattered and not densely packed together. Even if they met Blood Alliance players, they could still pass them off as real. Blood Red War Flag of the Saga City Lord's mansion was completely unaware of the impending danger. He was happily sitting on the City Lord's seat in the mansion. The position of City Lord was something that Blood Red War Flag dreamed of. Now that their dream had finally been realized, Blood Red War Flag couldn't help but get carried away. Blood Shura and the others were also smiling. It could be seen that power was something that could make people fall. At this time, only Bloodwind Whisperer was frowning. Although Bloodwind Whisperer didn't have the ability to predict the enemy's moves like Wuji, Bloodwind Whisperer was still an extremely sensitive person. His senses told him that suffering was the key to death. Now was definitely not the time to indulge in it. Wind Whisperer, why aren't you happy at all? Blood Red War Flag also noticed the expression on Blood Wind Whisperer's face. He was a little annoyed and asked, "Are you unhappy that I'm a city lord?" "No." Bloodwind Whisperer was a little speechless. "You're the boss. The more power you have, the more our value will rise. Why wouldn't I be happy? You're still thinking of giving the city to the Japanese dogs." Blood Shura said again. Bloodwind Whisperer couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with Blood Shura. Instead, he solemnly reminded Blood Red War Flag, "Our brothers in the guild have all left the city. Now that the city is empty, I feel a little worried. Do you think the Japanese players will ambush us?" "Don't worry," Blood Red War Flag said proudly. "Saga City is under Yuhuaicheng's jurisdiction now. The other 5 main cities on Ingzhou Island can't teleport here. What are you afraid of? There are only 2 cities on this island. If they dared to attack us, they would have ambushed us in the city. Why would they need to abandon the city and escape until now? Even so, Bloodwind Whisperer said, "But I still feel that something is wrong. Why don't we ask our brothers outside the city to come back first?" This Blood Red War Flag suddenly looked a little embarrassed when he heard this. He had already said it so clearly. Why was this kid so stubborn? Why did he have to say such harsh words? Blood Shura said in disdain. "Look at how timid you are. I don't believe that he can still attack us at this time." Chapter 1395. System Notification. Yakutai's City Lord, Black Dragon King, has declared war on Saga City. All teleportation channels in Saga City are closed. City war will begin in 10 minutes. Saga City players, please prepare to defend the city. Seeing the system prompt, Blood Red War Flag and Blood Red Azura were both shocked. They immediately revealed surprised expressions and said at the same time, "What's going on?" The Black Dragon Society's sudden declaration of war directly confused the Blood Red War Flag. It must be known that in a siege battle, the defending side had the advantage of the city wall, which was much more difficult than a direct ambush. The two idiots couldn't understand why the Black Dragon Society didn't ambush in Saga City at the beginning, but chose to attack head-on. Of course, the main reason was not because Blood Red War Flag was stupid, but because Blood Red War Flag had never been a city lord before. If it was someone from Chiwanjin, they would have realized Black Dragon Guild's final goal. In the game, they could go offline and be invisible. It was easy to ambush, but so what? Not to mention the fact that Black Dragon Guild had a low chance of winning against Blood Alliance, who could command the guards in the city. Even if they succeeded in ambushing, they would only be able to kill Blood Alliance once. Black Dragon Guild's goal was the entire Saga City. Anyway, Black Dragon Guild not only had a lot of people, but they also had reinforcements. Once Blood Alliance started fighting, there would be no turning back. It would be difficult to attack the city. At most, Black Dragon Guild could just slowly waste Blood Alliance's energy outside the city. Sooner or later, they would be able to exhaust Blood Alliance to death. Moreover, Black Dragon King was able to exhaust Blood Alliance's energy and then attack when they were unprepared. It showed that he was not a stupid person. Daring to declare war proved that he had his own strategy. Blood Alliance's players were outside the city. Blood Red War Flag was caught off guard by the enemy's declaration of war. In a panic, Blood Red War Flag hastily gathered Blood Alliance players in the guild channel to return to the city to defend. However, because the Blood Alliance players had taken down Saga City without a drop of blood, they became a bit arrogant. At this time, they had already let loose and ran off to who knew where to level up. The system only gave them 10 minutes. Only the lower-leveled players who could return in time and were slightly closer to Saga City. At this critical moment, Bloody Wind Whisperer played his role as the vice guild leader. He immediately volunteered to lead the players who had returned to the city in time to set up defenses on the city walls. However, when Bloody Wind Whisperer climbed up the city wall with his subordinates, he was dumbfounded. The Black Dragon King's declaration of war on Saga City gave Liuya's group plenty of time. At this time, Liuya had already led the Black Dragon gang members through the leveling area. They arrived at Saga City. Countless Black Dragon gang members rushed over from all directions, surrounding Saga City. Seeing this scene, the Blood Red War Flag and the others felt incredibly depressed. They hated themselves for not listening to Bloodwind Whisperer's advice at the beginning. They thought that the Black Dragon would run away, but in the end, the enemy really turned around and attacked them. Now that the enemy's army was pressing on, not to mention that their own reinforcements had not arrived, they were stranded on an isolated island without even a ship. It was impossible for them to escape. Seeing that the people of Black Dragon Triad had already rushed to the city wall, Blood Red War Flag could only grit its teeth and close the city gate. Before the siege began, the city gate was invincible. There were less than 5 minutes until the siege began, so the city gate could naturally withstand any kind of attack from the Black Dragon Triad. Although the Brothers of Blood Red War Flag were also locked outside, it was still better than letting the people of Black Dragon Triad enter the city. Otherwise, once the Black Dragon Triad entered the city, after the siege began, the city wall would no longer have any meaning. Below Saga City, Huliuya saw that the city gate was locked and quickly sent a message to the Black Dragon King. Boss, as you expected, the city gate has been closed by the Chinese. Okay, I got it. The Black Dragon King said calmly. Take some people and guard the city. Don't let the Chinese people outside the city in. Got it. After receiving the message, Huliuya firmly issued a defensive order in the guild channel. After receiving the order, the Black Dragon Triad players immediately changed their formation. The shields of the tanks were all aimed outside the city, and they spread out with their backs facing Saga City. Seeing that the Black Dragon Triad players actually had their backs facing Saga City, Blood Red War Flag was stunned again. They had no idea what these guys were planning. Attacking a city also had to pay attention to basic rules. Wouldn't they be defending the city with their backs facing Saga City? What would happen to Blood Red War Flag then? That's not right. At this time, Blood Red War Flag saw through Huliuya's thoughts and couldn't help but frown. They're setting up the formation in the opposite direction. Are they blocking our reinforcements? Blocking our reinforcements? Are they trying to kill all of us in the wild? Blood Red War Flag exclaimed. Impossible. Blood Red War Flag said. If we want to break into the main city, we have to kill the City Lord and snatch the City Lord's seal. There is no point in blocking them in the wild. Kill the City Lord. Blood Red Shura interrupted again. No way, we have already closed the city gate. They are guarding the gate and not entering. How are they going to kill the City Lord? Since things had developed to this point, Blood Red Shura had played a big role in adding fuel to the fire. Although Blood Red War Flag didn't say anything, Blood Red Shura was quite self-aware. At this time, his tone was much softer than before. Blood Red War Flag was a person who didn't care about the past. He looked at Blood Red Shura and said calmly, "That's hard to say. What, they have already set up an ambush in Saga City." Ambush? Why didn't I see it? Blood Red Shura looked around with his hand covering his eyes. Blood Red War Flag was speechless. Nonsense, this is the game. If the players want to ambush, they can just go offline. Blood Red Shura was speechless. As soon as Blood Red War Flag finished speaking, the system announcement sounded again. Preparation time is over. City war begins. In the Black Dragon Triad headquarters in Yamatai City, the Black Dragon King smiled when he saw the announcement. He turned his head and said to a short and thin player beside him, "Dragon Fong, it's time for your people to enter the field." Got it, boss. The short man, who was called Dragon Fong by the Black Dragon King, responded and went offline. At this time, a white light flashed in the central square of Saga City. A group of players with the Black Dragon Triad badge on their chests came out at almost the same time. Although these players were also Black Dragon Triad players, whether it was their aura or their equipment, they were very different from the Black Dragon Triad players that Blood Red War Flag and Xuanjin had seen before. These Black Dragon Triad players were all wearing black armor, and the weapons in their hands were also emitting a faint light. Moreover, these people looked fierce and murderous. At a glance, one could tell that they were experts who had experienced hundreds of battles. They were obviously not easy to deal with. Chapter 1396. There were close to 100 of these Black Dragon Guild players. Among them was a tall warrior who stood out in the crowd. After everyone went online, they subconsciously moved closer to the tall warrior. It was obvious that this warrior was the leader of this team. Apart from that, this group of players was also very disciplined. After gathering, they did not make any unnecessary movements and went straight up the city wall. What the Black Dragon Guild players did not know was that their actions were seen by the Xuanjin people on the Mage Tower in Saga City. Seeing this, Wuji raised his eyebrows and said, Oh. Taking care of both inside and outside. It seems like the opponent is not simple. Luckily, we arrived early. It had to be said that the Black Dragon King had some ability to make the Black Dragon Guild so big. This insidiousness really surprised Wuji. The Black Dragon King naturally knew that with the city wall as a barrier, it would not be easy to attack the city. Therefore, before the Blood Alliance people teleported to Saga City, he had already set up a team of 100 elites in Saga City. The ultimate goal of the large army that Huoluya brought was not to attack the city, but to isolate the Blood Alliance players outside of Saga City. The real key was the elite team that had been set up beforehand. What a good move to attack from the inside and outside. In the rules of the city war, after the city war started, the guards in the city would lose their role. As long as the city lord was killed, the city lord seal on him would definitely drop. Once the city lord seal was picked up by the enemy guild, then the defending side would lose. Therefore, if the elite team could kill Blood Red War Flag now, the city war would end early and there would be no need to launch a large-scale attack. This way, not only would it save time, but it would also save a lot of manpower and resources. The Black Dragon King was a businessman. Saving costs was his instinct, so it was reasonable for him to come up with such a plan. It was hard on Blood Red War Flag to meet such a cunning bastard. There was no way around it. One was an old fox who had been in the business world for a long time. The other was a hot-blooded youth. There was no way to compare them. Seeing the Black Dragon Guild's elite team run up the city wall, Wang Yu asked anxiously, "Should we go and help now?" "No need." Wuji looked at the Blood Alliance members on the city wall, then waved his hand and said, "Blood Alliance is one of the big guilds in the national server. It is understandable that they can't win in this situation. If they can't even run, it would be a waste to give Saga City to them." "This all right." Hearing Wuji's words, Wang Yu did not refute. Indeed, the reason why Wang Yu gave Saga City to Blood Alliance was because of their strength. If they didn't even have this bit of strength, then there was no point in giving the city to them. He might as well keep it for himself. While they were talking, the Blood Alliance players who had returned from outside the city arrived at Saga City. Logically speaking, because Neon players rarely played esports, they were weaker than the first-tier guilds in terms of individual quality and average strength. However, the gap was only in terms of awareness. In terms of operability, the requirements of standalone games were not lower than those of online games. In fact, they were even higher. Moreover, the Black Dragon Guild was the biggest guild in Ingzhou Island and had some strength. Even if they were weak, they wouldn't be that weak. Now that Blood Alliance was caught off guard by the Black Dragon Guild's sudden declaration of war, their morale was at its lowest. Secondly, the Blood Alliance players ran back the moment they received the order to defend. Not to mention a formation, they weren't organized at all. As for Black Dragon Guild, they were waiting for the enemy to exhaust themselves. Facing the Blood Alliance players who were like a plate of loose sand adding oil to the fire, it was too easy to deal with them. Moreover, to ensure that the elite team in the city had enough conditions to kill the leader, the Black Dragon Guild didn't chase after killing the enemy. They just defended and didn't let Blood Alliance get close, which made things much easier. The waves of Blood Alliance players' attacks were all blocked by the Black Dragon Guild. All of a sudden, the Blood Alliance players were blocked outside of Saga City, unable to take a single step forward. Seeing more and more Blood Alliance players gather, Ye asked Huoluya in a panic, "Boss, there are more and more Chinese players. Will we be able to hold them off?" "We can hold them off," Huoluya said. "The Chinese people have always been smart. Now that they don't have a leader, they won't listen to anyone. Once they gather together, Saga City will be taken down." Huoluya turned around and looked at the Blood Alliance players on the city wall. They have many people in the city too. Although there weren't many Blood Alliance players on the city wall, they were still able to defend, and there were hundreds of them. "It's useless." Huoluya laughed coldly. "Those who can defend so quickly aren't experts. Moreover, the one who attacked this time is the Black Dragon Tooth." Black Dragon Tooth? Huoluya was shocked when he heard this name and swallowed the words he was about to say. On the city wall, Blood Red War Flag panicked when they saw the Black Dragon Guild's iron barrel-like defense blocking the Blood Alliance players outside. Just as Blood Red War Flag was like an ant on a hot wok, the Black Dragon Guild elites had already charged up the city wall. "Yeah, you are?" Blood Red War Flag couldn't help but be stunned when they saw the sudden appearance of these fierce players. They thought that they were reinforcements from Blood Alliance. Just as they were about to welcome them, Blood Red War Flag suddenly shouted, "Old Flag, run! They are for the Black Dragon Guild." Then, Bloodwind Whisper's body flashed and blocked in front of Blood Red War Flag. Then, Blood Red War Flag was shocked and hurriedly looked at the chest of the opposing player. However, how could a knight's vision compare to an archer's? When he saw the emblem on the chest of the Black Dragon Guild player, they were less than 20 meters away from Blood Red War Flag. Seeing that the opponent was about to charge over, Bloodwind Whisperer raised his bow with his left hand and grabbed an arrow from the quiver with his right. He pulled the bow and released. Pong! A wave of arrows flew towards the Black Dragon Guild members. The tall warrior at the front raised his shield. Dang, 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 dang. Bloodwind Whisperer's arrows were all blocked. Blood Red War Flag calmed down and gave orders to the Blood Alliance players on the city wall. Block them. The Blood Alliance players received the order and surrounded them from all directions. However, a group fight was different from a one-on-one fight. A one-on-one fight relied on strength, while a group fight relied on formation. The Blood Alliance players were scattered. After receiving the order, they didn't even organize and charged forward. The result was obvious. Not only was the Black Dragon Guild's formation tight, but they were also the elites of the elites. Even if they faced the Blood Alliance players head-on, they wouldn't be afraid, much less in this situation. Chapter 1397. The Black Dragon Guild players pressed forward like a bulldozer. Blood Red War Flag and the others retreated as they fought. Soon, everyone was forced to the corner of the wall. Facing the aggressive Black Dragon Guild players, a sense of despair surged from the bottom of Blood Red War Flag's heart. They shouted unwillingly, "No, impossible. How can we be finished so quickly?" Seeing its boss in such a state, Bloody Wind Whisper let out a sigh. Bloodwind Whisper did not look down on Blood Red War Flag. If it was Blood Red War Flag, it would probably do the same. The onlookers see the game more clearly. This was normal behavior for Blood Red War Flag. Blood Red War Flag took over Saga City without shedding a single drop of blood. Just like Li Zicheng, who had slaughtered his way into Beijing, he was stunned by the easy victory. Wu Sangui's counterattack had stunned Li Zicheng as well. "No, we still have a chance," Bloodwind Whisper said. "As long as you don't die, the main city will not be lost. Don't die." Blood Red War Flag looked at the approaching Black Dragon Guild players. How can? Before Blood Red War Flag could finish, Blood Red Wind Whisper gave Blood Red Shura a signal, and Blood Red Shura slammed into Blood Red War Flag. Bang! With a loud bang, Blood Red War Flag was directly knocked off the city wall. The physical fitness of the players in the game was far superior to that of ordinary people. A city wall of more than 10 meters could not kill anyone. However, even with Blood Red War Flag's thick skin, it was still smashed and lost a third of its health. Seeing Blood Red War Flag jump off the city wall, the Black Dragon Guild members were stunned. Although falling off the city wall would not kill anyone, whether they dared to jump down was another question. Saga City's city wall was at least 10 meters high as a 5-story building. This thing was like bungee jumping. Even if you knew that you would not die from a fall, it still took a lot of courage to jump down without being pushed. What's more, they did not even have a rope, so they were even more uncertain. "Damn, you're crazy." During this time, Blood Red War Flag got up and cursed at Blood Shura on the city wall. At this time, Bloodwind Whisper sent a message. "Run to the City Lord's mansion. Our Blood Alliance brothers are waiting for you there." When Blood Red War Flag saw the message, it turned around and ran towards the City Lord's mansion. During the city battle, the City Lord had a mark above his head. Even though the Black Dragon Guild's people didn't recognize Blood Red War Flag, they all knew that Blood Red War Flag was the City Lord. Seeing that Blood Red War Flag was about to run, the Black Dragon Guild's people panicked. He turned around to look for a way down. Blood Red War Flag had not gone far. How could Bloodwind Whisperer and Blood Shura let the Black Dragon Triad chase after them so easily? So, they looked at each other and immediately attacked the Black Dragon Triad. The two of them were core experts of Blood Alliance and weren't weak at all. Blood Shura jumped into the Black Dragon Triad's players with Heaven Collapsing Earth Slash and followed up with Whirlwind Slash, tearing the Black Dragon Triad's formation apart. Bloodwind Whisper attacked with all its might from behind, and their cooperation was perfect. However, no matter how strong the two of them were, it was difficult for two fists to defeat four hands. After killing 5 or 6 Black Dragon Triad experts, the two of them died under the attacks of the Black Dragon Triad's people. However, their sacrifice was not in vain. Just as the Black Dragon Triad players were beating up Bloodwind Whisper and Blood Shura, Blood Red War Flag charged all the way, bypassing the Black Dragon Triad players' line of sight. When the Japanese people were angry, they were quite crazy. Seeing that Blood Red War Flag was nowhere to be seen, the Black Dragon Triad players gritted their teeth and jumped off the city wall like dumplings, chasing in the direction that Blood Red War Flag disappeared. However, when they saw Blood Red War Flag's back, Blood Red War Flag had safely entered the fortress and successfully ran to the City Lord's mansion. Inside the City Lord's mansion, Bloodwind Whisper, who had died and returned to the respawn point, had regrouped all the Blood Alliance players in Saga City. They formed a formation and guarded the entrance of the City Lord's mansion. As soon as Blood Red War Flag entered the City Lord's mansion, under Bloodwind Whisper's command, the Blood Alliance players' frontline tanks stepped forward and blocked the entrance of the City Lord's mansion. Seeing that the cooked duck could fly away, the Black Dragon Triad players were furious. Without saying a word, they opened up a formation and crashed into the Blood Alliance players. The Black Dragon Triad's elites were known as the Black Dragon's Teeth. As the name suggested, they were the strongest elite force of the Black Dragon Triad. No matter how careful the Black Dragon King was, he would not be stingy when it came to settling down. These guys were all equipped with exquisite equipment and were very strong. The Blood Alliance side was in a worse state. After all, they were just wandering around outside the city wall, so how strong could they be? At this time, the elites of the Blood Alliance were all outside the city, and the people inside the city were all mixed up. There were even people who had not awakened. Among them, only Blood Red War Flag, Bloodwind Whisper, and Blood Shura could be considered experts. Blood Red War Flag was worried about their identity and couldn't show their faces. Their strongest fighting force was also absent. How could such a formation withstand the attacks of the Black Dragon Triad's elites? Under the Black Dragon's Teeth's bite, the Blood Alliance's resistance was shaky. If not for Bloodwind Whisper's command, they would have been broken through long ago. Seeing that the Blood Alliance's formation was about to be broken through by the Black Dragon Triad players, a black circle suddenly rose from the Black Dragon Triad players' formation. 1. The Black Dragon Triad players were focused on attacking the Blood Alliance's formation and didn't notice their feet. They were directly surrounded by the Dark World. Rumble. At the same time, thunder rumbled in the sky. Then, a lightning bolt as thick as a bucket landed in the Black Dragon Triad players' formation. White light rose along with the lightning. Thunderstorm. This sudden attack stunned the Black Dragon Triad and Blood Alliance. They all looked behind the Black Dragon Triad players and saw a team of players appear behind them. When the Blood Alliance members saw their sloppy and arrogant expressions, they were so emotional that they nearly cried out. That's right, the newcomers were Yu Huiqing's strongest guild, the #1 team in the server, Chuanjin. Compared to the Blood Alliance's excitement, the Black Dragon Triad players were scared out of their wits. With the boost from the Thunder attribute, Radiant City's Thunder Magic could be said to be at the peak of its power. Its damage was unparalleled. With this lightning bolt, the Black Dragon Guild lost a third of its members, and there was no lack of tankier classes among them. Such high damage was rare, even for a professional team, let alone a Japanese player. Seeing how frightened the Black Dragon Triad players were by Mingdu, Wuji smiled as he walked from the back and waved his hand. Don't panic. This is just a basic move. After saying that, Wuji raised his chin at Bao San and said, Translate. Bao San stared at Wuji speechlessly and mumbled something. The Black Dragon Triad players were even more shocked. Chapter 1398. What the heck, this was even basic. Wouldn't that be heaven-defying? Boss Black Eye. The plan has changed, what do we do? The players of the Black Dragon Guild looked at the people of the Quan Jun sect in shock. Then, They turned their questioning gazes to the tall warrior. As the elite group of Black Dragon Guild, of course none of them are weak. It was not hard to see that the people who came to support Blood Alliance were not normal people. One had to know that such terrifying magic damage was something that no one had even heard of. Moreover, Wuji said that it was basic, which made it even more obvious that he had come with ill intentions. Accidents were always feared, especially when it came to carefully planned operations. Once something went wrong, it would be easy for things to go awry. After Blood Alliance formed their formation, Black Dragon Guild had not been able to take them down. Now that a group of people with unfathomable strength had appeared, the Black Dragon Guild players did not know what to do. The tall warrior called Black Eye saw that his underlings were afraid of Chuanjin and couldn't help but scoff. He pointed at Wuji and said, "You are just bluffing. First take them." However, before Black Eye's voice fell, a burly black shadow suddenly descended from the sky, leaping over the Black Dragon Triad people and jumping in front of Black Eye. Then he stretched out his arm, and a big hand grabbed Black Eye's face. To dare to charge a 100-man team alone, apart from Wang Yu, there were not many people who dared to do such a thing. As the saying went, there would be no harm if there was no comparison. Black Eye was very tall among the Black Dragon Guild players, but compared to Wang Yu, he was dwarfed. Wang Yu had long arms and legs. Even if he didn't have a weapon, he reached out to Black Eye's face. His fan-sized palm slapped Black Eye's face, and he used strength. Black Eye was caught off guard and was pressed to the ground by Wang Yu. Wang Yu, who had pinned Black Eye to the ground, did not stop. He bent his waist and exerted force with his legs, pushing Black Eye's face forward. Bang! The back of Black Eye's head rubbed against the ground as Wang Yu pushed him a few meters away. Only when he reached the foot of the wall of the City Lord's mansion did Wang Yu use the ferocious tiger technique to lift Black Eye up and smash him against the wall. Bang! With a loud bang, cracks appeared on the walls of the City Lord's mansion. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Black Eye was smashed into a white light by Wang Yu. Silence. Deathly silence. If Mingdu's magic had shocked the Black Dragon Triad players, then Wang Yu's attack had shown them what true terror was. At this moment, the Black Dragon Guild players didn't even have the mood to be afraid. Their minds were blank. Damn, Black Eye was their boss, and he was also a warrior. There was no need to talk about his techniques. His equipment and attributes had all been bought by the Black Dragon Guild. Now, however, he had been instantly killed by this Grandmaster of Combat. The Black Dragon Guild players couldn't think of any adjectives to express their emotions. After all, mages were damage output professions, so it was reasonable for them to deal high damage. However, a Grandmaster of Combat, who was a jack of all trades, was able to deal so much damage. This was something that no one could understand. Not only the Black Dragon Guild players, but even the Blood Alliance players, who had heard of Wang Yu's overpowered strength, were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. From this, it could be seen that the majority of people love dragons. Hearsay was one thing, but seeing it with their own eyes was another. As for Blood Shura and Bloodwind Whisper, who had suffered under Wang Yu's hands, they broke out in a cold sweat. They couldn't help but look at each other and swallow their saliva. Their unfriendly memories of Wang Yu appeared in their minds. Damn, I haven't seen him for a long time. I didn't think that he would become more and more terrifying. Luckily, I didn't act cool and fight him head-on. If not, who knows who would be the one being pressed to the ground. TSK, you really know how to act cool. Seeing that Wang Yu had stolen the limelight from everyone from the Chuanjin sect the moment she appeared, Wuji pouted and said, "Did you see that? This is what I call a non-basic operation." Translate. After saying that, Wuji raised his chin at Bao San. Bao San angrily raised his fist and was about to translate. However, Wang Yu waved his hand at Bao San and said, "No, this is basic as well. Okay, let's continue." Damn! Bao San finally broke down and shouted, "Are you two done with acting cool?" The Blood Alliance was speechless. They had never seen such a troublesome group of people. The Black Dragon Guild players were confused. They didn't understand why they were arguing. However, even though they were confused, the Black Dragon Guild players didn't stop. After they recovered, the first thing they did was to attack Wang Yu. It could be said that the Japanese had a one-track mind. They just had to pick on Wang Yu, a tough bone to chew. Of course, this was in the game. There was nothing wrong with focusing on the one who dealt the highest damage. All of a sudden, arrows and magic flew towards Wang Yu. Wang Yu leaned back and dodged the attack. Then he pressed his right hand against the ground and twisted his wrist to turn his body. Then he bent his knees and kicked the wall. His entire body was almost close to the ground as he charged into the Black Dragon Guild players. He clenched his palms, and an ice dragon and a fire dragon flew out from Wang Yu's palms and hit the Black Dragon Guild players. Boom, boom, boom. Double dragon break. This was a high-level Chi master skill. Its damage was only lower than an awakening skill. In the hands of Wang Yu, it was extremely lethal. In one exchange, a dozen Black Dragon Guild players were killed. The area around Wang Yu was also cleared. In a panic, the Black Dragon Guild players formed a formation and surrounded Wang Yu. Wang Yu slammed his hands on the ground and leaped up. The Black Dragon Guild players instinctively closed their formation and didn't give Wang Yu a chance to land. Who knew that Wang Yu's feet would flash with lightning and he would land heavily? Boom! Another wave of white light rose, and a dozen more dead souls appeared under Wang Yu's feet. Seeing the Black Dragon Guild experts who had blocked the entrance being defeated by Wang Yu, the Blood Alliance players were both terrified and excited. When they saw Wang Yu's Thunder Stomp, they couldn't help but shout, "Damn, this is the legendary Nine Heaven Thunder Stomp?" More than 30 of the Black Dragon Guild's experts had been killed by Mingdu's Thunderstorm, and more than 20 of them had been killed by Wang Yu. The entire 100-man team had been reduced by half in just a few moves, and even the leader, Black Eye, had been mercilessly killed. Actually, these guys weren't weak. If they could reorganize their formation in time, they could still struggle for a few rounds against Wang Yu. But with Black Eye's death, the Black Dragon Guild players were like dragons without a leader. Not only did they suffer heavy losses, but their mentality and morale also collapsed. They didn't have any desire to fight anymore. Seeing Wang Yu turn around and attack again, the Black Dragon Guild players acted as if they had seen a ghost. They screamed and ran. Of course, the Quan Zhun and Blood Alliance players weren't just there to do nothing. Everyone rushed up and wiped out these scattered troops. Chapter 1399. What? News spread much faster in the game than in real life. Black Dragon Fong had just been wiped out when the Black Dragon Guild headquarters received the news. When the Black Dragon King heard that the Black Dragon Fong had failed, he was immediately stunned. He angrily questioned Dragon Fong. Could it be that our elite group can't even beat the old, weak, and sick of the Chinese? Black Dragon Fong was a team that Black Dragon King had spent a lot of money to build. Whether it was equipment or strength, they were top-notch. Even the national and European server, they were second to none. Right now, Blood Alliance's elites were all blocked outside the city. Apart from a few core players, the majority of the players inside the city were newbies. Elite against newbies, they had actually been wiped out. Even if the Black Dragon King knew that his opponent was one of the top guilds in the country, he was still furious. After all, no matter how much Japanese players didn't like online games, their skill level wasn't low. As long as they didn't fight a large-scale battle, fighting head-on depended on the quality and equipment of the individual soldiers. Because of this, Black Dragon King made such a huge detour to let Black Dragon Fong block Blood Red War Flag. It was to ensure that nothing would go wrong. However, under this absolute suppression, the Black Dragon Fong was still annihilated. How could the Black Dragon King not be angry? Black Dragon King was a gloomy person. Flaming Tooth didn't show any emotions even after losing Saga City, but now he was furious. This scared Dragon Fong to the side. Dragon Fong hurriedly explained, "Our elite team was about to wipe out Blood Alliance, but for some reason, a team of top experts suddenly appeared. Our elite team was attacked from all sides and was wiped out. Of course, there were only 2 top experts in the team who had actually destroyed Black Dragon's Tooth. However, Black Eye and the other Black Dragon's Tooth players weren't idiots. Of course, they wouldn't say this out loud. Thus, Black Dragon's Tooth really thought that it was a team of top experts working with Blood Alliance to destroy Black Dragon's tooth. Anyone who played the game knew that when one's strength was suppressed, using a sneak attack, especially with the existence of Cannon Mage, it wasn't too difficult for a team of top experts to wipe out a team of 100 people. Experts. Hearing this, the Black Dragon King frowned and his anger dissipated. He then calmed down and said, "The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. It seems like I have underestimated the Blood Alliance." One had to admit that the more magnanimous one was, the bigger one's business would be. Otherwise, the Black Dragon King will be able to manage half of Ingzhou Island. After all, he was a professional businessman. When something happened, he immediately reflected on his own shortcomings. The Dark Dragon King, who was still angry because of the failure of his subordinates, immediately began to reflect on his own tactical arrangements after hearing Dragon Fong's words. After thinking for a moment, the Dark Dragon King immediately ordered again, activate the next step of the plan, change the direction of attack. Begin the siege. At this moment, Blood Alliance's defending players were all in the City Lord's mansion. Saga City's defense was weak, and without the city defense equipment, Black Dragon Guild's main target was the city walls that wouldn't fight back. This was the best time to counterattack. However, after Dragon Fong saw the order, he said in shock, "Our people are facing off against the Blood Alliance elites outside the city. If we turn around, won't we be leaving our backs open to them?" "Yes." The Black Dragon King nodded, then gave the second command, Dragon Blade. "Take your men and push forward." "Got it." At the Evil Spirit Valley, a blue-clothed mage received the order and replied casually. Then, he led the tens of thousands of Black Dragon Guild players who were stationed outside the Evil Spirit Valley and pushed forward in the direction of Blood Alliance. At the same time, Blood Red War Flag, who was saved in Saga City, let out a long sigh of relief. He excitedly rushed over and grabbed Wuji's hand, saying gratefully, "Boss Wuji, you really are my brother, my real brother." That expression, that posture, if there was no one around, Blood Red War Flag would probably have bitten him. That was way too gay. Wuji struggled to break free from Blood Red War Flag's hands, wiped his hands on Chun Xiong, then rolled his eyes at Blood Red War Flag and said, "Stop talking nonsense. You are still in danger. Quickly get your men to defend the city. Black Dragon Guild's decapitation operation has failed. They will definitely attack the city later." "It can't be." Blood Red War Flag wiped his sweat and said, "Although their people are below the city, our elites are also outside the city. With their strength, it is more than enough to resist. If they really turn their backs on our brothers in Blood Alliance, I guarantee that they won't be able to return." Blood Red War Flag might have forgotten how they were being chased and still had the mood to brag. Wuji said mercilessly, "Stop acting cool. Only you have people behind you. But they don't have people behind them? While their reinforcements haven't arrived, quickly send people to make arrangements." Blood Red War Flag knew about Wuji's ability, so naturally, they did not dare to disobey Wuji's orders. They waved their hands and let Bloodwind Whisper bring people to guard the city walls. However, after Bloodwind Whisper and the others left, Blood Red War Flag was still puzzled. "I see that there are more Black Dragon Guild players below than our Blood Alliance. Where do they get reinforcements?" "Nonsense," Wuji said disdainfully. "Do you think the Black Dragon Guild is like your Blood Alliance? They don't have anything else, but they have people. According to an incomplete estimate, their reinforcements are at least 3 times the total number of people in Blood Alliance." "What? 3 times?" Hearing Wuji say that, Blood Red War Flag's heart went cold. Indeed, compared to Blood Alliance, Black Dragon Guild's advantage was their numbers. Not to mention the other main cities, just in Yama Platform and Saga City, Black Dragon Guild had hundreds of thousands of players. Other than the tens of thousands of people that Hua Liuya brought to block the gate, there were still hundreds of thousands of players waiting for orders at Evil Spirit Valley. Once these people pushed into Saga City, Blood Alliance would truly be attacked from the front and back. No matter how elite Blood Alliance players were, they had no chance of winning when facing enemies 3 times their number. If they didn't face Dragon Blade's army, then Blood Alliance would have to face Hua Huolia had received orders to attack the city. Would he die or the main city die? He had to choose one. Who wouldn't have a headache when faced with such a choice? Blood-red war flag didn't dare to think about it. However, everyone was so smart and had definitely guessed it. If this matter was placed on Wuji, then it wouldn't be a headache. In Wuji's eyes, even his own life wasn't a life, much less Blood Alliance's dogs and chickens. Are you afraid? Seeing that blood-red war flag wasn't talking nonsense with him, Wuji laughed coldly. What should we do? Blood-red war flag was conflicted. Won't our elites be finished? This was a choice that even the boss, blood-red war flag, couldn't do anything about, much less the other Blood Alliance players. Black Dragon Guild wouldn't give them any time to think. Very simple. Chapter 1400. Suicide. Hearing Wuji's idea, blood-red war flag reacted. The Blood Alliance players outside the city were in a dilemma. The only way to get out of this situation was to kill their way back into the city. However, with Huolia and his men blocking the gate, returning to the city wasn't easy. However, the Blood Alliance players were all in Saga City. As long as they died, they would revive in Saga City. Just now, Blood-Red War Flag and the others were focused on escaping and forgot about this. They had no choice. After all, no matter how little experience they lost by suicide, it was still experience. Unless they had no other choice, no one would think of using suicide to escape. Only a person like Wuji, who did not see others as humans, could casually think of this point. Blood-Red Shuro was startled. Isn't that still death? What's the difference between dying and getting wiped out? It's not the same. Wuji's eyebrows rose, and he said calmly, "Without destruction, there can be no construction. You're already an adult. Can't you tell the difference between being active and being passive?" Counterattacking with death was also about technique. Black Dragon Guild was able to think of such a strategy. Of course, they wouldn't neglect the fact that once the Blood Alliance players were killed, they would return to the city. Black Dragon Guild had many times more players than Blood Alliance, so they could control the number of deaths of Blood Alliance players within a controllable range. This way, even if the Blood Alliance players died and returned to the city, it would be useless. At most, they would be adding fuel to the fire of the players attacking the city. In terms of strategy, this was called the Calabash brothers saving their grandfather. By killing themselves and returning to the city, Blood Alliance would have the initiative. Not only would they cause Black Dragon Guild's reinforcements to fail, but they would also be able to revive and form a new formation to counterattack. This was the difference between being active and being passive. Moreover, how could being killed and committing suicide feel the same? The method of death could affect the momentum of the game. This was an important point. Wuji's words confused Blood-Red Shura. He didn't know if he understood or not. Of course, Wuji didn't expect this kid to understand. As long as Blood-Red War Flag wasn't stupid, it would be fine. While they were talking, Bloody Wind Whisper led the Blood Alliance players to set up defenses on the city walls. At the same time, Bloody Wind Whisper saw the Black Dragon Group's reinforcements rushing towards Saga City from afar. They were already outside the city. As Wuji had said, the number of Black Dragon Guild reinforcements was astonishing. As far as the eye could see, they were so dense that they couldn't be seen at all. It seemed that the entire leveling area of Saga City had been covered by the Black Dragon Guild. After receiving the news from Bloodwind Whisperer, Blood-Red War Flag did not hesitate and immediately gave the order to commit suicide. Seeing their guild leader's instructions, Blood Alliance's players' reactions were no different from Blood Azure's. They had no idea what Blood-Red War Flag was trying to do. However, it was gratifying to know that the environment they were in was different. The Crimson Azura was only questioning how everyone had died. The players outside the city had to weigh the pros and cons. At this moment, the Black Dragon Guild's reinforcements were right in front of them. The Blood Alliance players outside the city naturally knew that they wouldn't be able to escape death. Since they were going to die anyway, committing suicide was at least a bit more honorable. Moreover, this was their boss's order. So why would they have the reputation of not listening to orders? After thinking about this, the Blood Alliance players outside the city all took out their weapons in unison under the shocked gazes of the Black Dragon Guild players. Woo, don't worry about how mages use their staffs to cut their necks. Anyways, it's the system's stupid design. Don't blame the author, just understand. The scene of tens of thousands of players heading out was a spectacular sight. Committing suicide at the same time was the same. Shwa! Countless rays of white light rose up. The blinding light almost blinded the eyes of the Black Dragon Guild players. The Black Dragon Guild players even suspected that Blood Alliance was doing this to blind them. Looking at the empty space in front of them, it was as if the Blood Alliance players had never existed. The Black Dragon Guild's reinforcements suddenly started to doubt their lives. Dragon Blade and Hua Liuya immediately sent a message to the Black Dragon King. Boss, all the players outside the city have committed suicide. Committed suicide. After getting this news, the Black Dragon King's pupils constricted. After thinking for a moment, a weird smile appeared on the Black Dragon King's face. He patted his chest and praised. Good, good, good. As expected from one of the top guilds on the Chinese server, you really do have some skills. Dragon Fong was also shocked. I didn't think that the Blood Alliance players would choose to commit suicide to return to the city. So terrifying. Wasn't that right? Levels were so hard to train, and if they didn't fight to the last moment, everyone would think that they were lucky. To think that the Blood Alliance players would commit suicide like this was really terrifying. After all, if they were so vicious to themselves, then what about others? Kiki. The Black Dragon King smiled calmly. At the start, I just wanted to use the smallest losses to obtain the biggest victory. It seems like I have underestimated these bunch of young people. They are forcing me to be serious. Since that is the case, then let's go all out. As he said that, the Black Dragon King gave the order to go all out to attack Saga City. Right, this was the stupidest move and also the Black Dragon King's killing move. Since ancient times, when attacking and defending a city, they were fighting for resources. In real life, they were fighting for food. In the game, they were fighting for equipment, durability, and potions. The Blood Alliance had just arrived at Saga City and hadn't even warmed their seats when the Black Dragon Guild declared war. Even if they brought a lot of supplies, they were still limited. Moreover, Sanctuary Island and the Heroes Continent were separated by an ocean. Even if they had ships, when reinforcements arrived, the Blood Alliance would most likely be dead. Being alone and without help was the Blood Alliance's biggest disadvantage. The Black Dragon Guild had 3 islands and 5 cities on Sanctuary Island. They had endless supplies and a terrifying number of players. If they really fought the Blood Alliance to the death, it would be up to fate whether or not the Blood Alliance would be able to return home alive. Of course, there was only one final outcome. When they ran out of supplies and the city was broken, it would be the day the Blood Alliance died. Just for Saga City? Is it worth it? Dragon Fong was confused about the Black Dragon King's actions. Saga City had always been the poorest main city of the Black Dragon Guild. Not only was the income extremely low, but because the City Lord seal was not on the players, they could not even collect taxes for such a broken city. It was obviously not worth it to attack at all costs. Worth it? The Black Dragon King said calmly. One can't just look at the immediate benefits. After the sea route is opened, Saga City will be the main city with the most profits. Also, as he said that, the Black Dragon King paused for a moment, and a sharp aura emanated from his body. Chapter 1401. Along with Black Dragon King's order, the morale of the Black Dragon Guild players rose. At the end of the day, everyone played the game for fun. If they didn't want to live in a moment, no one would be willing to let go. With such a huge gap in strength, it was only the boss who wanted to save money to come up with some tricks. Rushing in and killing them was what the employees yearned for the most. Originally, the Black Dragon Guild players thought that they were in a stalemate with Blood Alliance. Now that they heard that they were going to attack the city, everyone was shocked. They got into formation and surrounded them. On the city wall, Wang Yu and the others stood at the side and watched. Seeing the Black Dragon Guild players all gather and surround Saga City, Mingdu couldn't help but say, D***MN, so many people attacking the city. can Blood Alliance do it? No matter how strong the city wall was, it wasn't invincible. Ants could even bite an elephant to death. With so many players, it was just a matter of time before the city wall was broken. Kiki. However, Wuji smiled faintly and said, "It's obvious that the Black Dragon Society's good hand turned into 3 twos and 2 kings." Hearing Wuji's words, Mingdu didn't understand. Are you joking? Blood Alliance might not even be able to beat them. Don't forget that they still have reinforcements. No. At this moment, Wang Yu pointed at the Black Dragon Guild players and explained their formation is a little messed up. The more people there are, the more disadvantageous it is for them. Wuji looked at Wang Yu with a weird expression and gave Wang Yu a thumbs up. Amazing, right? In the end, the players were just a group of otakus. Even a sly old fox like the Black Dragon King was limited to being a merchant. Different professions were worlds apart. Marching and fighting were different from the business world. Normal people couldn't command hundreds of thousands of people. If they didn't have enough influence, they wouldn't even be able to command 5 people in League of Legends. Even if they had absolute influence, a battle with hundreds of thousands of people wasn't a group fight. The more people there were, the harder it would be to plan and arrange battle formations. Throughout the history of Neon, battles involving tens of thousands of people were rare, and battles involving hundreds of thousands of people were even rarer. There were so many famous historical generals who couldn't even win a 10,000-man battle. The Black Dragon King was just a businessman. Who gave him the courage to directly start a group of 100,000 people? Let's not talk about the distant Blood Alliance. Blood Alliance had been in the online gaming world for so many years, and their guild had already reached a certain level. Although their battle system wasn't as mature as the army, they still had captains and group leaders, which made them look like they were in the army. At this moment, the tens of thousands of Blood Red Alliance members all had their own positions on the city walls. Even so, Blood Red War Flag was so busy that they didn't know where to go. The Black Dragon King, on the other hand, had only given them one target. He didn't even give them a specific battle strategy before they swarmed the Black Dragon Triad. This was clearly carrying forward the tradition of gang fights in the Neon villages and towns into the game. They thought that they could turn the tide of the battle by having more people. While such a fighting style looked ferocious, it was actually just a fluster. The Black Dragon King was overthinking if he dared to play this way. Of course, it wasn't that the Black Dragon King's tactics weren't good, but that this guy was used to talking on paper and underestimated the importance of playing on the battlefield. If the Black Dragon Triad had a few more people who knew how to lead a group, it would only be a matter of time before Saga City was flattened. Now that they were fighting without any strategy, there naturally wouldn't be any substantial effect. Although the Black Dragon Triad had a big advantage, it would be difficult for them to break through Saga City in a short time. It was no wonder that Wuji said that he had a good hand but a bad hand. As expected, after the Black Dragon Triad's 100,000 people received the order to attack, the players rushed towards Saga City as if they were on steroids. In the beginning, the Black Dragon Triad players still had some team fighting awareness. The warriors were in front, and the damage dealers were behind. Gradually, the formation became more and more chaotic. After fighting for a while, everyone forgot what a formation was. They didn't even listen to the command and just rushed forward. This was still considered good. Some of the more deceptive players didn't even rush forward. They just hid in the back and picked up the equipment dropped by whoever died, making a fortune. If this was the real cold weapon era, with so many people, they could use the corpses to create a path to attack the city. But what was the background of the game now? Swords and magic. Apart from swords, there was magic and even firearms. On the walls of Saga City, apart from a large number of weapons of mass destruction, there were also countless mage players. It was impossible to break through by relying on numbers. Against the Blood Alliance, who were far more disciplined than them, the lives of the Black Dragon Triad players could only be exchanged for 1 mana or 1 arrow. After the Blood Alliance players committed suicide and returned to the city, they finally had the initiative on the battlefield for the first time. The nearest resurrection point to the Black Dragon Triad players was in a novice village at the other end of the Evil Spirit Valley. After the Black Dragon Triad's general attack order was given, this novice village welcomed the second large population increase since the open beta. At the same time, the Black Dragon King's information was so bad that it was about to explode. With so many people dying and still not being able to break through Saga City, Huolia and Dragon Blade naturally didn't dare to hide the battle situation. It was obvious what the Black Dragon King had received. The Black Dragon King was indifferent. Facing the chaotic situation, he was only slightly surprised. He then replied, "It's okay. Let them kill. In a while, the reinforcements from Cloud City and Xiaoguan will arrive. Let's see how long they can last." It seemed like the Black Dragon King, that old fox, didn't think that such a situation would occur, but he chose a more violent way to deal with it. "Since you can kill people, then fine, I'll let you kill to your heart's content." During the city war, the players didn't lose much EXP. It would take a lot of time for the hundreds of thousands of Black Dragon Triad players to die. However, killing a player required at least a dozen arrows and 4 or 5 spells. Using unlimited to fight limited, it all depended on how many supplies you had. Businessmen weren't easy to deal with. When they were calculating, they could make you look down on them, but when they were ruthless, they could make you feel fear. The never-ending siege war lasted from noon to dusk, and the players on both sides fought until they were enraged. Blood Alliance was still okay. There weren't many casualties, but they were starting to run out of supplies. Potions also had a cooldown time. During the cooldown time, the Blood Alliance players could only rely on changing potions to recover. However, facing such an endless stream of attacks, how could they recover just by resting? At this time, almost all of the Blood Alliance players' mana bars were empty. However, the Black Dragon Triad players were hovering between life and death, advancing wave after wave without any signs of stopping. Chapter 1402. Got it. Wuji wasn't surprised at all when he received Yang Na's message. He forwarded it to Blood Red War Flag. When Blood Red War Flag saw this, they peed their pants. Whether or not the shoes were broken, only one's feet would know. Similarly, Blood Red War Flag naturally knew what the situation was like for Blood Alliance. Don't look at how one-sided Blood Alliance was against Black Dragon Guild and had the absolute advantage. In fact, after an afternoon of intense fighting, more than half of the arrows and potions in Saga City had been used up. Only 4 to 5 hours had passed. One had to know that a city battle would take at least 24 hours. Blood Alliance was already struggling to deal with the enemy in front of them. Now that the enemy had reinforcements, this defending a city relied mainly on ranged professions. Once their supplies were used up, they couldn't just let everyone jump off the city wall and fight with the enemy. If Black Dragon Guild lost, at most they would have to give up their territory and scram back to their main city to recuperate. If Blood Alliance lost, they wouldn't have a chance to turn things around. Boss Wuji, you have to think of a way. The Blood Red War Flag was at its wit's end. The Quanjin sect had become their last hope. Whether the Blood Alliance could survive or not depended on the Quanjin sect. Away. Wuji thought about it and asked, "How much longer can the supplies last?" Blood Red War Flag calculated and said, "We can hold on for 3 hours at most." At the moment of life and death, Blood Red War Flag was much more honest than Chow Chow. They didn't hide the supplies from Wuji. 3 hours. Wuji sighed. "I knew you didn't know, but I didn't expect you to be so careless. You came all the way here for revenge, and you're not even willing to bring supplies?" This Blood Red War Flag blushed. Saga City is such a small place, I didn't think it was necessary. So, who knew that Black Dragon Guild would be so shameless and use their lives? Indeed, not only did Blood Red War Flag not expect Black Dragon King to use such a despicable method, even Wuji was surprised. Wuji said angrily, "Look at you. You brought all your men with you, but you didn't bring them. If someone stabs you from behind, you won't even have a chance to turn around." Boss Wuji, you're right. I'll pay attention next time. Blood Red War Flag nodded. There was nothing they could do about it. Since they were asking for help, they had to be humble. Wuji had slapped Blood Red War Flag twice, but Blood Red War Flag did not dare to show any emotions. Turning around, Wuji said, "However, the Black Dragon Guild is no different from your Blood Alliance. They are both people who don't care about the consequences." "Boss Wuji, why do you say that?" Blood Red War Flag asked curiously. When it came to Blood Alliance, Blood Red War Flag knew what was going on, but when it came to Black Dragon Guild, Blood Red War Flag was confused. Wuji smiled and pointed outside the city. "Do you see those players outside? With so many people attacking the city and even calling for reinforcements, I'm afraid this is the entire Black Dragon Triad." "That makes sense." Blood Red War Flag heard this and nodded in agreement. "How'd they deal with Blood Alliance at the start?" Wuji asked Blood Red War Flag. Blood Red War Flag was a little embarrassed. They blocked most of the Blood Alliance players outside the city and then sent their elites to kill me. "Why did they kill you?" Wuji asked again. "Because I have the City Lord's seal. As long as they kill me and take the seal, we will lose the city war." "That's right," Wuji said. "This is called taking drastic measures. Your supplies can last for 3 hours. If you want to win the city war, you have to end it quickly. This is obviously a good idea." "What do you mean?" "Give them a taste of their own medicine." As he said this, a smile appeared on Wuji's face. City wars were mutual. The defending side's way of winning wasn't just to defend against the opponent's attacks for 24 hours. Taking the opponent's City Lord seal was the most direct and violent method. However, being direct was being direct. It wasn't easy to do. After all, as the side attacking the city, they had a huge advantage. Taking the seal was also with a large force, so they had the initiative. But if the defending side wanted to take the seal, it would be the complete opposite. The defending side was already passive. If they couldn't even defend the city, why would they bring a large force to take the opponent's seal? That was too unrealistic. So, under normal circumstances, no one would think of this during a city war. The difficulty was too high. It was easier to defend the city. Blood Red War Flag also understood this point. He pointed at the Black Dragon Guild players outside the city and said, "This is a good idea, but our people can't get through. There is only one road from Saga City to Yamatai City." At this time, there were hundreds of thousands of Black Dragon Guild players outside Saga City. Looking at it, one couldn't see the end. Passing through so many people to get to Yamatai to take the seal was no different from dreaming. If there were too few people, they definitely wouldn't be able to squeeze through. By the time they reached Yamatai, Saga City would have already been taken. If there were too many people, the target would be too big, and it would be even more dangerous. Moreover, from Saga City to Yamatai, they had to pass through Evil Spirit Valley. That was the only way for the Black Dragon Guild players to revive. Even if they could squeeze through the battlefield outside the city, it was impossible to pass through Evil Spirit Valley safely. Faced with Blood Red War Flag's doubts, Wuji pointed at himself and the people of Chuanjin and smiled faintly. "You can't do it, but it doesn't mean others can't." Hearing Wuji's words, Blood Red War Flag immediately reacted. Yes, for ordinary players, if they wanted to go from Saga City to Yamatai City, they had to go through many dangers. It was not much easier than going on a pilgrimage to the west. But in the eyes of the people of Chuanjin, it was not difficult at all. The people of Chuanjin knew how to fly. Here, they could reflect the craziness of the flying skill. Even if it was difficult to walk on the ground, it had nothing to do with the road and the sky. The danger on the ground was nothing in the eyes of the players who could fly, okay? As everyone knew, the people of Chuanjin were very strong, and Wuji was even more cunning. With an insane master like Wang Yu holding the fort, not to mention the fact that Yamatai City was empty and unguarded. Even if the players of Black Dragon Guild were in Yamatai City, Chuanjin would still be able to come and go as they pleased. Others cannot do this, but Chuanjin did not feel any pressure at all. "Aya!" Blood Red War Flag slapped its head and said excitedly, "How could I forget about this? Boss Wuji, I really don't know how to thank you this time. Just name your price. As long as you can help us defend the city, I will not bargain." "Brother War Flag, don't say that." Wuji smiled and said, "We brothers are far away from talking about money. Boss Wuji, Hearing this, Blood Red War Flag was so excited that tears welled up in its eyes. It wondered how much charisma it had to have made this guy turn over a new leaf and help them for free. Chapter 1403. As soon as Wuji said this, Blood Red War Flag almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Damn, as expected of Chuanjin, the moment he opened his mouth, he made people want to die. It wasn't that Blood Red War Flag was stingy. After all, to Blood Red War Flag, it was already very satisfying to have a place in Saga City. As for Yama Platform, it was hard to say whether or not Blood Red War Flag would covet it in the future. At least for now, they didn't even think about it. At this time, Blood Red War Flag just wanted to force the enemy to retreat so that Black Dragon Guild wouldn't dare to invade again. Wuji, on the other hand, was thinking about Yama Platform. Blood Red War Flag didn't even dare to think about it with tens of thousands of experts, but Chuanjin wanted to do it with just a dozen people. Damn, this was what it meant to be heroic, what it meant to swallow mountains and rivers. Blood Red War Flag finally experienced it. Blood Red War Flag was stunned for a moment before saying in shock, "Big brother, we don't even know if we're dead or alive. You've already decided on Yama Platform?" Hee. Wuji said indifferently, "I won't hide it from you. I've had this thought since the beginning." "You're amazing." Blood Red War Flag gave him a thumbs up and looked at Wuji with admiration. The bigger the heart, the bigger the dream. This was the first time Blood Red War Flag had seen such courage from Wuji. "How about it, Brother War Flag? My condition isn't too much, right?" Wuji said indifferently. Actually, Wuji also knew that the Quanjun sect's current actions were akin to taking advantage of the situation. As the saying goes, those who saw it had share. The Blood Alliance had directly pulled the Black Dragon Gang's aggro, which gave the Quanjun sect the opportunity to sneak an attack from behind. Logically speaking, if they could really take down Yamatai City, at least half of the points would be given to the Blood Alliance. Wuji usually liked to take advantage of others. In principle, he wouldn't give a discount. Naturally, he had to lay things out. Not at all. Blood Red War Flag had no intention of objecting to Wuji's idea. It hurriedly said, "Not at all. As long as you can help us out, let alone Yamatai, we can even give you Zamadian." Blood Red War Flag wasn't a fool. Although he knew that the Blood Alliance was holding off the Black Dragon Guild, he also knew that if the Quanjun sect refused to help, the Blood Alliance wouldn't even be able to protect Saga City, let alone Yamatai. In fact, the Blood Alliance might even be wiped out by the Black Dragon Guild. For Wuji to raise such a condition at this time, everyone knew what he was thinking. Anyway, the Blood Alliance didn't have any intentions towards the Siamatai. Giving it to the Quanjun sect was no big deal. There was still a long way to go, and who knew when the Black Dragon Gang would make a comeback. With such a strong ally like the Quanjun sect, the Blood Alliance would feel at ease. Seeing Blood Red War Flag agree so easily, Wuji laughed with satisfaction. Forget about Zamadian. Even if you are willing, the country isn't. It's settled then. Once this is over, you can't have any ideas about Yama Platform. As he said this, Wuji smiled and looked at Wang Yu beside him, who had a serious expression. Extortion with a carrot in one hand and a stick in the other was Wuji's specialty. Blood Red War Flag looked at Wang Yu and shuddered. He wiped his sweat and said, "Of course. Of course. What a joke." With him here, no one could stop him from getting the seal. How twisted did Blood Red War Flag have to be to offend Chuanjin? Okay. Wuji turned his head and said to Wang Yu and the others, "Since that's the case, we will help Brother War Flag this once." After that, Wang Yu and the others from Chuanjin spread their wings behind them. More than a dozen people rose into the air and flew straight in the direction of Yama Platform. Outside Saga City, there was a large-scale brawl of more than 100,000 people. Everyone fought back and forth like a raging fire. The scene was chaotic. No one would notice that someone was flying over their heads. Even if someone saw the Chuanjin people, they probably would not care. In this way, Wang Yu and the others flew all the way over the Black Dragon Triad players and arrived near the Dark Spirit Valley. The Dark Spirit Valley was already at the edge of Saga City. Except for the Black Dragon Triad players constantly rushing out of the Dark Spirit Valley, there were no other people from the Black Dragon Triad. Flying with wings also consumed a lot of mana. Although everyone had changed into automatic mana regeneration equipment when they took off, everyone except for Wang Yu had used up all their mana. So everyone found a place where no one was and sat down to recover their strength. At this time, Chun Xiang, who had been silent, asked Wuji, "Yama Platform is the headquarters of the Black Dragon Triad. They won't go all out here, will they?" Chun Xiang's worry was not unreasonable. From the various tactics of the Black Dragon Triad, it was not difficult to see that the boss of the Black Dragon Triad was not a brainless person. If it were not for Chuanjin ambushing in the back, Saga City might have been the Black Dragon Triads by now. Such a person did things in all aspects. How could there be such a big flaw? Blood Red War Flag was forced by the Black Dragon Triad. They did not believe that Chuanjin had no other choice. However, the people of Chuanjin were calm. Naturally, they would not be easily bewitched by Wuji's words like Blood Red War Flag. Of course not, Wuji said calmly. Not only will they not go all out, but they will also leave more elite experts to guard Yama Platform. Damn! Mingdu heard this and immediately stood up. He pointed at Wuji and shouted unhappily, "Since you know that there will be people in Yama Platform, you still sent us to our deaths. What are you so anxious about?" Wuji hit Mingdu's leg with his staff, causing Mingdu's body to sway. Mingdu was furious. He took out his staff and was about to fight back. To place one's pride, who was next to him, reached out and pressed him to the ground, unable to move. Huh! Seeing that Mingdu was restrained, Wuji smiled and said, "If you were Blood Red War Flag, how many people would you send to sneak attack?" Well, Mingji and Daoxue thought for a moment and said, "When it comes to sneak attacks, the smaller the target, the higher the success rate. Now that the battlefield is so chaotic, there are people from Black Dragon Triad everywhere. If we didn't set up an ambush, a team of 100 people definitely wouldn't be able to reach Yama Platform City. If I were Blood Red War Flag, I would at most send a team of 10 people." "Very good," Wuji nodded and said, "You have perfectly integrated with Blood Red War Flag's thinking. So if you were the boss of Black Dragon Triad, how many people would you send to defend against a sneak attack from 10 people? "Oomph," Wang Yu said disdainfully. "Do I need to defend against 10 people? During the 100-team battle, hundreds of thousands of people couldn't catch me." Everyone was angry. "Can you get out of here, you pervert? This is a discussion between humans. Don't you interrupt." Chun Xiang thought for a moment and said, "If it were me, at least 100 people would be left to defend against a sneak attack from 10 people. Black Dragon Triad isn't sure, so I would probably have to leave 200 people to make sure." Chapter 1404. Ugh. When the Chuanjin people heard that, they turned to look at Wang Yu and immediately fell silent. No one dared to say for sure whether Wang Yu could single-handedly kill 500 players from the complete reality sect. After all, there were attribute restrictions in the game. No matter how powerful an expert was, they would not be able to hold their own against a large number of players. This was especially true now that everyone was around level 50. Even under normal circumstances, Wang Yu could not instant-kill any class. However, the Chuanjin people did not doubt Wang Yu's strength at all when it came to taking the head of a general among 500 people. Why could Guan Yu assassinate Yan Liang in the midst of thousands of soldiers? It was because the horse was fast. It could be seen that movement speed was very important for assassinations. Wang Yu had Qin Gong, so there was no need to mention his movement speed. Furthermore, Wang Yu's ability to leap onto roofs and vault over walls was also top-notch. Most importantly, Wang Yu knew how to fly. That was a pair of divine artifact wings. If Wang Yu ran around happily, not to mention a few hundred people, no matter how many people there were, they could only stare at him helplessly. No wonder Wuji dared to use such an unreliable method. It was because Chuanjin had a plug-in that could turn the unreliable into reliable. After resting for a while, everyone's stamina was full, and they took off again. After flying over the Evil Spirit Valley, they arrived at Yamatai City's sphere of influence. As the headquarters of the Black Dragon Triad, Yamatai was not only the largest main city on Ingzhou's 3 islands, but also had the largest mining area, vegetation, and mountains on Ingzhou's 3 islands. It had absolutely rich resources, and such a resource-based main city had always been a strategic location. From this city war, it was not difficult to see that in the future, players would not only rely on manpower, but also logistics. The Black Dragon Triad occupied Yamatai, which was equivalent to occupying the core of Ingzhou Island. If they really fought, they could rely on their abundant resources to exhaust others to death. In addition, the area of Yamatai was much larger than a port city like Saga City. The Chuanjian people flew all the way, and it took them more than 30 minutes to see the main city of Yamatai. At this time, Yamatai City's gate was closed, and Black Dragon Triad players stood on the city wall. Although there were not many, there were no blind spots. As long as someone climbed over the wall and entered the city, they would immediately notice. Hey, Wang Yu could not help but laugh when he saw the flawless defense of Yamatai City. The boss of the Black Dragon Triad is really a cautious guy. I know, right? Wuji also sighed. He's clearly attacking, but he's putting on a defensive posture. This guy probably has a lot of enemies in real life. Like you? Mingdu rubbed his chin and asked. It's different, Wuji said proudly. I have the protection of the country, and I have armed police following me everywhere I go. Even if the old cow went there, he would be taken down by a bullet. TSK, tisk. Everyone sighed. Damn it. Why does the country support such a person? Is he a scourge that lasts for 1,000 years? In the end, it was still Wang Yu who was more pragmatic. He did not forget what he was here for. After thinking for a while, he said, Then what do we do now? Do we rush in directly, or let old Yu go in? The arrangements of the Black Dragon Triad could be said to be in place. There were no blind spots. If they wanted to enter, they would have to break through one direction. If it was in real life, they could let the archers shoot a sniper arrow to silently kill a player, and then everyone could sneak in. But in the game, they could resurrect after dying. In this way, only assassins could quietly enter the city. There were 2 assassins in Xuanjian, Mingjian Daoxue and Baiming Yoyu. In this case, Mingjian Daoxue's combat power was negligible, so only Baiming Yoyu could enter the city. Of course, knowing yourself and your enemy was the way to victory. Wuji thought for a while and said, The sentries on the city walls have no blind spots, so the defense inside the city must be tighter. Old Yu, go in and take a look at the situation inside. If you can make a move, do it immediately. If you can't, we'll think about it later. Okay. Baiming Yoyu was a man of few words. When she heard Wuji's order, she responded and disappeared on the spot. After Baiming Yoyu left, Wuji waved his hand to make room and took out Mahjong to start playing. Before he finished one round, Baiming Yoyu came out of the ground. How was it? Did you succeed? Seeing that Baiming Yoyu had returned so quickly, Wang Yu immediately went up to her and asked. No, Baiming Yoyu said with an ashen face. It's just as Wuji said. The defense inside is airtight. There's no chance to make a move. Airtight? That's an exaggeration. Mingdu curled his lips. It's not an exaggeration, Baiming Yoyu said with fear. The City Lord's manor is surrounded by 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside. There are at least 1,000 people, and they have activated the Eye of Truth. I was discovered the moment I got close. If not for my Earth escape, I probably wouldn't have been able to return. 1,000 people? SSS. Upon hearing Northern CUU's words, everyone from Chuanjian gasped in unison. Damn it, just how many bad things did the Black Dragon Guild do on a daily basis? Boss was actually so guilty that he had to send 1,000 people to guard the City Lord's manor for a city battle. Thinking of this, everyone could not help but look at Wuji. They could not help but ask, Do you usually have 1,000 people protecting you when you go out? TSK. Wuji said disdainfully. It's not about the number of people. It's about the quality. Understand? It's just 1,000 people. Look at how scared you are. 1,000 people. Do you think it's 1,000 ants? Everyone was very dissatisfied with Wuji's behavior of not treating others as humans. Wu Ji looked at Wang Yu and said, "Old cow, don't look at me." Wang Yu hurriedly waved his hand. "Big brother, I also have a limit. There are 1,000 people on the other side, and it's the city lord's manor and not in the wilderness. I can't do anything." The terrain in the wilderness was open, and there were good conditions for both an attack and an escape. The city lord's manor was a building. No matter how big the space inside was, the door was only so big. If one wanted to go in and kill people, they had to clear the door. There were close to 1,000 Black Dragon Guild players outside the city lord's manor. Asking a grandmaster of combat like Wang Yu to face 1,000 people with his bare hands? That was too King ridiculous. "You're thinking too much," Wu Ji said. "If I create an opportunity for you to go in, do you have the confidence to snatch the seal?" "That's not a problem," Wang Yu said. "As long as I can go in, I guarantee that I can get the seal. I'm a professional at killing people. However, there are so many people outside the city lord's manor. How do you expect me to go in?" "You don't have to worry about that." Wu Ji laughed. "You'll know when the time comes." After saying that, Wu Ji pointed at the gate of Yamatai City in front of them and said to the rest of Chuanjin, "Let's go. Other than Old Cow, the few of us will fly over there." The Chuanjin people were a little confused and asked, "F***CK, isn't that too obvious?" "That's exactly what I want." Wu Ji laughed. "What about me? Which way should I fly?" Wang Yu asked. "You wait here. Wait until we kill all the people on the city wall before you go in. Kill them all." Everyone was even more surprised. "Are you going to attack from the front?" Chapter 1405. As he spoke, Wu Ji spread his wings and flew straight to the sky above Yamatai City. When the other members of the Quanjun sect saw this, they also followed closely behind Wu Ji. Black Dragon Triad was a corporate guild. The cohesiveness of the players was not very good, but their discipline and obedience were very high. After all, they were paid to do things, and the Neon people were still very dedicated. At this time, Yamatai City was unprecedentedly quiet. There was no one in front of the city gate. With so many people from Chuanjin appearing at the same time, it was very conspicuous. As soon as Wu Ji and the others flew near the city wall, the Black Dragon Triad players on the city wall noticed them. What's that?" The cloak was a reward for the Qingming festival event. So far, only the local players had seen it, and the Neon players had never even heard of it. Seeing the strange creatures flying toward Yamatai City, the Black Dragon Triad players were a little puzzled. However, when they saw that the creatures flying in the sky were actually players, everyone was stunned. The ones flying in the sky are actually players? How is this possible? Of course, there were some players who were more wretched. Seeing that there were female players in the sky, they subconsciously looked at their chests and then exclaimed, "These players don't seem to be from our Black Dragon Triad." Hearing this, the other Black Dragon Triad players also came to their senses. If they're not from Black Dragon Triad, is it an enemy attack? Not good attack. The Black Dragon Triad players shouted as they hurriedly operated the city defense equipment on the city wall. However, it was all too late. The flying speed of Chuanjin's people was very fast. While the Black Dragon Triad players were stunned, Wu Ji and the others had already flown directly above the Yamatai city wall. At this time, Wu Ji ordered, "Everyone, split up and attack." The Chuanjin people received the order and made a sharp turn in midair, scattering in all directions. Although the city defense equipment was strong, it could not shoot vertically up, and it had lost its effect at this time. The Black Dragon Triad players on the city wall mainly played the role of sentries. Their strength was relatively not strong, and most of them were smurfs. Naturally, they were no match for the Quanjun sect's group of experts. In just a single exchange, Wu Ji and the others had turned all the Black Dragon Triad players in their field of vision into white light. At the same time, Wang Yu received a message from Wu Ji. "Enter the city." After receiving the order, Wang Yu did not say anything and quickly flew into the city while there was no one around. However, Wu Ji and the others were not done with killing the sentries on the city walls. As if afraid that others would not know that they had entered the city, Wuji and the others spread their wings and circled around the city walls, pushing the defenders off the walls. Let's go. After doing all this, Wuji chuckled and led the Chuanjin people to fly to the Yama platform's City Lord Manor. News spread very quickly in the game. While Chuanjin was wreaking havoc on the city wall, the Black Dragon Guild players killed by Chuanjin had already sent the news to the Black Dragon King. What? Enemy attack. Even though the Black Dragon King had set up so many defenses, the Black Dragon King was still very surprised when he received the news of an enemy attack. He did not think that the Blood Alliance would actually attack. After all, there were hundreds of thousands of players attacking Saga City. It was quite unbelievable that the enemy could pass through the chaotic battlefield and come to Yama platform to attack. How many people did they send? The Black Dragon King asked after being stunned for a moment. 10. The sentries replied. At that time, Chuanjin's people did not gather together to attack the players on the city wall, so the Black Dragon Triad knew the number of people that were attacking. Moreover, Chuanjin had harassed all the sentries on the city wall. Everyone had seen it, so the number was definitely not wrong. Only 10 people? No wonder they could pass through the battlefield. The Black Dragon King rubbed his chin and was about to say something when a player in black clothes with only his eyes showing pushed open the door and walked in. Even though this person only had his eyes showing, his gaze was very serious. Seeing the player's gaze, the Black Dragon King was confused. Falcon Dragon, what's the matter? The player called Falcon Dragon said, "The Chinese are outside the city leader's residence. Do you want to kill them?" "No problem." The Black Dragon King smiled and then said confidently, "It's just 10 people. Don't worry about them. With so many people guarding the door, they won't even be able to enter. Let's see how long they can last." One had to say that the Black Dragon King's move was very sneaky. The Black Dragon King knew that Chuanjin's target was him. The reason why they attacked was because the front lines were in a tight situation. At this time, he didn't need to do anything else. As long as he didn't move, the enemy would collapse. On the roof of the city leader's residence, Wuji was leading Chuanjin's group to provoke them. Facing such an arrogant group of people, the Black Dragon Triad players' faces darkened. They wanted to tear Chuanjin's group into pieces. However, the Black Dragon King had given the order. The Black Dragon Triad players could only stand there angrily and stare at Wuji's group, trying to kill them with their gazes. Chuanjin's goal was clear. They wanted to attract the Black Dragon Triad players' aggro. However, after provoking them for a long time, the other party didn't budge, which made them very depressed. Mingdu, who had always been hot-tempered, was the first to lose his temper. He raised his hand and said, "Wuji, is your stupid idea going to work? They're ignoring you." Wuji said calmly, "It doesn't matter if they ignore us or not. What matters is whether their attention is on us or not. As long as their attention is on us, the old cow will have a chance." "Then do you think their attention is on us?" Mingdu pointed at the Black Dragon Triad players and asked. "Yes," Wuji said, "but it's clearly not enough." "Oh, then what should we do?" Mingdu asked anxiously. "Oldly, you haven't sung for a long time, right?" Wuji said with a smile. What do you want to do?" Mingdu's scalp tightened when he heard this, and he asked in horror. "Nothing." Wuji said, "Sing a song. It's what you Hujian people are best at." Mingdu glanced at Wuji speechlessly, then decisively refused. "I won't sing." Wuji gestured to his left and right. Inlao Air and Bao San came over and sandwiched Mingdu in the middle. "If you don't sing, I'll throw you down." Mingdu looked at these bastards with tears in his eyes. He had no choice but to clear his throat and sing. The descendants of the mountain loved the sun. Mingdu was a music student after all. Regardless of whether his singing was good or not, the penetrating power of his voice was absolutely invincible in the world. The 18 twists and turns of the mountain directly attracted the attention of all the Black Dragon Triad players below. Chapter 1406. No one had researched whether or not Mingdu was singing the Song of Chu, but the effect created by the singing was completely contrary to the historical illusions. Back then, When the Chu soldiers heard the song, their fighting spirit collapsed. Even a godlike existence like Chu Bawang could not help but shed tears. When they heard Mingdu's singing, the eyes of the Black Dragon Triad players turned red, and the veins on their foreheads popped out as if they had been injected with stimulants. Damn it, provoking them on the roof was fine. The Black Dragon Triad players closed their eyes and pretended not to see it, but singing was a bit too much, especially Bright City's voice. Its penetrative power could be said to be refreshing, directly striking at the soul. How could the players of the Black Dragon Guild endure this? These bastards on the roof simply didn't treat them as humans. If not for fear of having their salaries deducted, some people would have rushed up to fight Mingdu to the death. But because of this, the attention of the Black Dragon Triad players was also attracted. Ha ha ha! Seeing the Black Dragon Triad players' expressions, Quan Jun laughed. Wuji held back his laughter and said with a serious face, "Everyone get ready. Let's add some fuel to the fire." With Wuji's command, Mingdu's singing stopped abruptly and was replaced by an area of effect magic that fell from the sky. At the same time, Yangna and Exquisite Dream raised their crossbows and shot at the players in the back row. At this time, the Black Dragon Triad players were confused by Mingdu's singing, and Xuanjin's sudden change in style caught them off guard. By the time their minds recovered, Xuanjin's attack had already landed. It was too late for the shield warriors to raise their shields to block. Boom! With a deafening sound, Mingdu's magic smashed into the formation of the Black Dragon Triad players. Without the protection of a shield, Mingdu's magic was completely free. A set of area of effect spells immediately blasted a gap in the Black Dragon Triad's formation. At least a few dozen people were killed by Mingdu. Damn it, these despicable bastards. The Black Dragon Triad players cursed and raised their weapons to fight back against Xuanjin on the roof. Quan Jin's group was very smart. They were now fighting on high roofs. Seeing the magic arrows flying towards them, the group of bastards laughed and took a few steps back. Rumble! All the magic arrows missed their target and smashed into the roof of the house. It couldn't be helped. This was the greatest advantage of having a high vantage point. In Rebirth, the player's spells and arrows were considered to be skills that could be fired. They were fundamentally different from projectiles. Although the trajectory of the projectile was curved, it could not be thrown. In a situation where the player's vision was blocked by the buildings, they were completely helpless. Therefore, the Black Dragon Guild players could not attack Xuanjin's members at all. Of course, as long as the Black Dragon Guild players walked out of the City Lord's mansion or onto the roof, they would be able to adjust their angle and attack their opponents. However, these guys were under orders and couldn't move freely. They could only stand below and be targets. After all, there was nothing more delightful in this world than seeing one's opponent being trampled on while standing. Xuanjin's group of bastards decided not to show their faces. They took out a bunch of bottles and cans from their inventory and threw them down. These bottles and cans were the stock that Li Shui and the others couldn't sell. There were Molotov cocktails, frost cocktails, poison cocktails, and everything. These things dealt fixed damage, and the shield warrior's defense was of no use at all. Molotov cocktails and frost cocktails were still manageable. At most, they would only lose a bit of HP, and the priest in the back could heal them with a few healing spells. However, the poison cocktails were more disgusting. Not only did they continuously lose HP, but the healing effects of the poison player's priests were also greatly reduced. Under the bombardment of these three types of bottles, the Black Dragon Guild players were miserable. Forget it. Let's kill these guys first. Under the ravaging of Xuanjin, the Black Dragon Guild players were tortured physically and mentally. Finally, the Black Dragon Guild players couldn't take it anymore. A gray-clothed assassin shouted and rushed out of the formation to run to the City Lord's mansion. He used climbing skills and climbed up to the roof. Sometimes, everything needed a leader. The Black Dragon Guild players were already on the verge of collapse. Suddenly, someone stepped forward. Naturally, the others couldn't hold back and followed. For a moment, the discipline that the Black Dragon Guild was so proud of was completely destroyed by Xuanjin. Everyone was in a mess. Amidst the chaos, The gray-clothed assassin who led the group quietly burrowed into the ground. In the guild channel of Chuanjin, Bao San said in surprise, "Old Fish's talent in languages is not bad. He speaks Japanese very well. It's all thanks to Brother San's good teaching." Bai Mingyu laughed. Although the Black Dragon Guild players outside the City Lord's mansion were not as exaggerated as Bai Mingyu said, there were at least 600 to 700 people. With so many people in a mess, it was still very lively. Soon, the Black Dragon King in the City Hall of the City Lord's mansion heard the noise outside. "What's going on outside? Someone was singing just now, and now it's still so noisy. Did they start fighting?" The Black Dragon King frowned and asked Dragon Fong beside him. "I'm not sure." Dragon Fong had not gone out of the City Hall just now. Of course, he did not know what was going on, so he replied, "I'll go out and take a look." As he said that, Dragon Fong walked out of the City Hall. However, just as Dragon Fong reached the door, a tall and burly figure pushed the door open and walked in, closing the door behind him. Bang! The door slammed heavily against the door frame, making a loud sound. Dragon Fong hurriedly looked up, only to see a stranger with sword-like eyebrows and a square face standing in front of him. It was Wang Yu, who had slipped in during the chaos. "Who are you?" Of course, Dragon Fong did not know who Wang Yu was, but seeing a stranger rush into the city hall, he could not help but be shocked and asked in surprise. "I don't understand," Wang Yu replied casually, then looked around and saw the Black Dragon King with the City Lord's mark on his head at a glance. So, without saying a word, he walked in the direction of the Black Dragon King. "Who are you? What do you want?" When Dragon Fong saw that Wang Yu's target was the Black Dragon King, he was shocked. He stretched out his hand, and a large sword appeared in his hand. He slashed at Wang Yu's head. Dragon Fong's attack was quite clean, and his strength was not weak. However, Wang Yu did not dodge or even look at Dragon Fong. He stretched out his left hand and grabbed Dragon Fong's wrist. Then, with a pull, Dragon Fong was involuntarily pulled toward Wang Yu. At this time, Wang Yu loosened his hand and raised his leg to kick Dragon Fong's ribs. Bang! With a muffled sound, Dragon Fong was kicked away by Wang Yu and landed heavily on the ground. After landing, Dragon Fong rolled backward and stood up with a quick recover. Then he took a few steps back and stood in front of the Black Dragon King. "Huh, your skills aren't bad." Chapter 1407. Wang Yu's method of determining an opponent's strength was very simple. In the past, when his level was low, if he could take a hit from Wang Yu and not die, then Wang Yu would regard him as an expert. Now that his level was high, Wang Yu couldn't insta-kill heavy armor classes like warriors. However, if he could take a hit from Wang Yu and still react quickly, then in Wang Yu's eyes, this kind of player was quite skilled. Although Wang Yu had not used any skills in that kick, the kick had landed on a vital spot like the ribs. Not only had Dragon Fong not been paralyzed from the kick, he had even used quick heal. It could be seen that this kid had some skill. Thinking about it, it made sense. The Black Dragon King was such a cautious person. Anyone who could stay by his side would have to be a top expert, at the very least at a professional level. With the Black Dragon Gang's current strength, the top experts under them were basically the same as the top experts in Japan. Japan wasn't a big country, but they had a lot of people. Their top experts were also very strong. To be able to block a kick from Wang Yu wasn't a big problem. However, the Black Dragon King's surprised expression wasn't any less than Wang Yu's. As the Black Dragon King's personal bodyguard, Dragon Fong's job was to protect the Black Dragon King. His strength was something that the Black Dragon King had never seen before. Even a dozen normal players wouldn't be able to get close to him. However, such an expert had been sent flying in one round by this stranger. This was something that the Black Dragon King found hard to accept. Did the Blood Alliance have such an expert? Why didn't Hoya, that bastard, mention it? For a moment, the Black Dragon King was at a loss. As for Dragon Fong, even though Wang Yu didn't make him suffer too much, the meaning of that kick was far more than that. Dragon Fong had always been arrogant and was very confident in his own strength. More than once, he had thought that his skill level wouldn't be any weaker than anyone else in a world-class competition. However, Wang Yu's kick had completely crushed Dragon Fang's mentality. F***CK. This was a F***King world level competition. Blood Alliance's random Grandmaster of Combat could beat him in one round. One had to know that Blood Alliance wasn't even considered to be at the top of the Chinese server, not to mention a Grandmaster of Combat, such a trash class. At this moment, Dragon Fang was doubting his life. How pitiful. His heart died before he could achieve anything. This must be referring to Dragon Teeth. Looking at Wang Yu walking over, Dragon Fang stood in front of the Black Dragon, holding his sword with both hands in front of his chest. He sent a message to the Black Dragon King. Boss, hurry up and call for help. This guy is a bit fierce. Oh. Receiving Dragon Fang's message, the Black Dragon King hurriedly issued an order to return and defend in the guild channel. How could dignity be more important than a salary? Following the Black Dragon King's command, the players of the Black Dragon Guild who were in a mess outside immediately abandoned Chuanjin's group and rushed back to the administration hall like a swarm of bees. Without waiting for the Black Dragon Society players to break through the gate, Wang Yu had already leaped toward the Black Dragon King. Stop him! The Black Dragon King turned pale with fright. He pointed at Wang Yu and shouted. At this moment, a figure appeared from behind Wang Yu. The assassin's entire body was covered in black, revealing only his eyes. It was Falcon Dragon. The instant Falcon Dragon appeared behind Wang Yu, he raised his katana with both hands and stabbed at Wang Yu's back. Just as the katana was about to stab into Wang Yu grabbed the blade with his right hand without even turning his head. Falcon Dragon was slightly taken aback, his eyes revealing a trace of surprise. Before Falcon Dragon could react, Wang Yu twisted his body to the left and pulled with his right hand. Falcon Dragon immediately felt a powerful pulling force coming from his weapon. If this was in real life, Falcon Dragon would have thrown his katana and left. But in the game, he couldn't let go even if he lost his life. Thus, Falcon Dragon was dragged in front of Wang Yu along with his saber. Falcon Dragon's reaction was also extremely fast. He immediately raised his hand and threw 3 cross-shaped darts at Wang Yu's eyes. How long could an assassin's katana be? The two players were less than a meter away from each other. The cross-shaped darts arrived in the blink of an eye. No matter how skilled Wang Yu was, he would have a hard time dodging the darts at such a close distance. If it were any other player, they would most likely have caught the darts with their faces. However, Wang Yu was a martial artist. Dodging was an instinctive reaction. Seeing the darts flying at him, Wang Yu subconsciously let go of Falcon Dragon's katana and swung his arms. Dang! 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 The 3 cross-shaped darts fell to the ground under Wang Yu's attack. Falcon Dragon broke free from Wang Yu's grasp and jumped back, putting some distance between him and Wang Yu. Gulp! Falcon Dragon gulped as he looked at the 3 cross-shaped darts on the ground. Cold sweat flowed down his face. What are you waiting for? Falcon Dragon was still in shock. The Black Dragon King pointed at the approaching Wang Yu and said in a panic, "You two, attack together." Falcon Dragon and Dragon Fang glanced at each other. Dragon Fang lowered his head and charged at Wang Yu. Wang Yu lightly jumped back and dodged Dragon Fang's charge. He canceled Dragon Fang's skill and used Rising Dragon Slash with both hands. Dragon Fang was a top-tier expert. Rising Dragon Slash's short displacement allowed him to close in on Wang Yu. At the same time, he stabbed at Wang Yu's chin. Although Dragon Fang wasn't weak, there was still a gap between him and Tranquil Ziyuan. Wang Yu calmly crouched down. Dragon Fang's blade swept past Wang Yu's head. Landing slash. Dragon Fang, whose attack had missed, quickly canceled Rising Dragon. He gripped the hilt of his sword with both hands and swung it down. Dragon Fang's plan wasn't bad, but he had obviously picked the wrong opponent. The moment Dragon Fang canceled Rising Dragon Tooth, Wang Yu, who was crouching on the ground, grabbed Dragon Fang's ankle and used Ferocious Tiger Strike. Ferocious Tiger Strike's priority was much higher than Landing Slash. Wang Yu's claw directly interrupted Dragon Fang's Landing Slash. Dragon Fang screamed in pain as Wang Yu slammed him into the ground. Duong! With a loud bang, the ground tremble from the impact. Dragon Fong, who had landed on the ground, was about to struggle to get up when Wang Yu grabbed Dragon Fong's ankle and flung him backwards. Dragon Fong felt the world spin as he was flung away. Bang! Dragon Fong smashed into the ground. Wang Yu's falcon dragon, who was about to attack, was knocked out of the way. The two of them rolled into a ball and fell backwards. Fortunately, both Dragon Fong and Falcon Dragon were top-tier experts. Dragon Fong and Falcon Dragon pushed each other in midair and used quick recover to land on one knee. After Dragon Fong landed, he rolled in front of Wang Yu. He twisted his waist and swung his great sword at Wang Yu, activating Whirlwind Slash. Falcon Dragon half knelt on the ground, put his hands together, and slapped them on the ground. He shouted, "Shadow Clone! Bang, 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 bang!" Chapter 1408. Haha, how interesting. Wang Yu was slightly taken aback when he saw the Falcon Dragon's shadow clone. Wang Yu had seen many doppelganger skills. However, the majority of doppelgangers were just doppelgangers that stood there like wooden stakes. As long as players looked carefully, they could tell which one was the real doppelganger. However, not only could the Falcon Dragon create 10 doppelgangers at once, but they were all so realistic that it was impossible to tell which was the real one with the naked eye. While Wang Yu was still in a daze, Dragon Fong's Whirlwind Slash had already reached Wang Yu. In the blink of an eye, Wang Yu activated Qinggong and leaped onto Dragon Fong's head. He then slammed his palm into the Dragon Fong's head. Boom! With a loud explosion, a scarlet flame ignited on Wang Yu's palm. A fire dragon flew out of Wang Yu's palm and slammed into Dragon Fong's head. Fire Dragon Burst. The powerful impact of Fire Dragon Burst pushed Dragon Fong several meters away, forcefully interrupting his Whirlwind Slash. Sure enough. However, before Wang Yu could finish casting Fire Dragon Burst, the 10 Falcon Dragons around him roared and swung their katanas at Wang Yu. Seeing this, Wang Yu smiled calmly. Lightning flashed under his feet as he stomped on the ground. Duong! As soon as the 10 Dragon Falcons got close to Wang Yu, they were sent flying. Immediately after, Wang Yu stretched out his left hand and a white light shot out, grabbing one of the Dragon Falcons and pulling it in front of him. Nanny! The captured Falcon Dragon had never imagined that his shadow clone technique would be completely ineffective against Wang Yu. He couldn't help but cry out in shock as he frantically swung his katana at Wang Yu in a disorderly manner. Wang Yu's right hand unhurriedly grabbed on a Falcon Dragon's wrist. With a twist, Falcon Dragon involuntarily loosened his grip on his katana, causing it to fall from his hand. Wang Yu released the Falcon Dragon with his right hand and gently grabbed the katana in his hand. At the same time, he forcefully pulled the Falcon Dragon's other hand behind its back with his left hand. The Falcon Dragon instinctively bent over, and Wang Yu's right hand followed suit. He raised the katana and chopped off the Falcon Dragon's head. The Falcon Dragon turned into a flash of white light in its daze. Seeing that Falcon Dragon had been killed, Dragon Fong's eyes immediately turned bloodshot. Wanting to fight to the death with Wang Yu, he lowered his waist and once again used Colliding Charge to slam into Wang Yu. As you wish. Seeing that Dragon Fong wanted to die, Wang Yu naturally wouldn't let him off. He moved his feet and flashed to Dragon Fong's back. He stretched out his left hand and grabbed the back of Dragon Fong's neck, while the katana in his right hand stabbed forward and stabbed into Dragon Fong's lower back. Poochie! Dragon Fong was pierced through by Wang Yu's katana. After piercing through Dragon Fong, Wang Yu didn't stop there. Instead, he continued to stab Dragon Fong 4 or 5 times. In ARPG games, the sense of impact was always a gimmick. For a game like Rebirth, it was only natural that the sense of impact would be absolutely realistic. Poochie, poochie, poochie. The sound of the katana piercing into flesh caused the Black Dragon King's hair to stand on end. Following Wang Yu's attacks, a string of bright red damage numbers floated up from Dragon Fong's head. Dragon Fong's health bar instantly turned red. Dragon Fong was also an expert. His waist was being stabbed by Wang Yu, so of course he had to struggle. As a Grandmaster of Combat, Wang Yu couldn't hold down a warrior. He could only kick Dragon Fong's calf, forcing him to kneel on the ground. Then, he stepped on Dragon Fong's back and pulled out the katana. Puchi -88888. When Wang Yu pulled out the katana, he immediately dealt a critical hit. The number was quite auspicious, but Dragon Fong's health bar was instantly emptied. He turned into a streak of white light and chased after the Falcon Dragon. The Black Dragon King was completely dumbfounded. Dragon Fong was the #1 expert of the Black Dragon Guild. Although the Falcon Dragon was slightly weaker than Dragon Fong, there was still a limit. The two experts attacked at the same time, but were slaughtered in less than 3 rounds. The Black Dragon King's mood was absolutely F***ed up. At this time, Wang Yu had already turned around. He extended his right hand and beckoned the Black Dragon King, saying, "Give me the city's seal, and I'll let you live." The Black Dragon King was a smart man. Although he couldn't understand what Wang Yu was saying, he could still understand what Wang Yu was trying to say. Seeing that Wang Yu wanted the seal from him, he took a few steps back and pointed at the door, saying, "So what if you want the seal? Can you even walk out of the meeting hall?" In Rebirth, the meeting hall was the last stronghold of the main city. As long as the city seal was still in the meeting hall, it didn't matter if it was stolen. This was because the drop rate of the city seal was 100% during the city war. Even if it was stolen, it could still be stolen. While Wang Yu and Dragon Fong were fighting, the Black Dragon Guild players had already broken through the meeting hall's door. Now that the door was completely blocked, even if Wang Yu could fly, it would be difficult for him to escape. However, the Black Dragon King clearly overestimated Wang Yu's ability to understand. Wang Yu raised his sword impatiently and said, "What did you say? I don't understand. If you don't give it to me, I'm going to steal it." "Mata, wait! Mata, wait!" Seeing that Wang Yu was about to kill someone, the Black Dragon King was shocked and quickly stopped him. "F***CK, you still dare to scold me?" Wang Yu's face turned black when he heard this. He stepped forward and killed the Black Dragon King with a single slash. Pada! The city's seal fell to the ground. When the Black Dragon Guild players saw that Wang Yu had killed the Black Dragon King, they immediately panicked and shouted in horror, "Not good." The city seal fell. "Everyone guard, don't let him escape." As they shouted, the Black Dragon Guild players rushed in. Wang Yu frowned. Just as he was about to pick up the seal, the ground beside the seal suddenly protruded. Baiming Yoyu drilled half of her body out of the ground and reached out to collect the seal. After doing all this, Baiming Yoyu smiled at Wang Yu, gave him a thumbs up, and drilled back into the ground. After the seal was taken away by Baiming Yoyu, Wang Yu no longer had any scruples and was about to take his stance. But at this moment, a system announcement sounded in the sky. System announcement. During the city war, the Black Dragon King, the city lord of Yamatai City, was killed by player Iron Ox. The city seal has been dropped, and Yamatai City has fallen. The winner of this city war is Saga City. The announcement was repeated 3 times in a row. Following the announcement, the guards in the city lord's residence were refreshed. How is this possible? Seeing the system announcement, all the Black Dragon Guild players were dumbfounded, especially the Black Dragon King in the Resurrection Point. He sat on the ground with a dazed look on his face. The resurrected Black Dragon Guild players around him did not even dare to breathe. The Resurrection Point that used to be noisy was dead silent. After all, the Black Dragon King had all the advantages in this city war. He was confident that he would win, but the result was very different. It felt like he had bought the correct answers on the first day of the college entrance examination, only to find out that he had copied the wrong subject after the exam. The Black Dragon King's mood at this time was something that ordinary people would not be able to understand. P.S. Hello everyone, please collect, subscribe, reward, and recommend tickets. Anyway, I'll ask for anything you have. I'm starving. Chapter 1409. Of course, the Black Dragon King's anger mainly came from his own confidence. This old guy thought that victory was in his grasp, but in the end, he lost. The gap between reality and his dreams made him feel disappointment and despair. However, compared to the Black Dragon King, The ones who felt more pain were the Black Dragon Guild players fighting on the front lines. In the eyes of the Black Dragon King, attacking a city was just a matter of words. But in the eyes of the frontline players, the battle was so tragic. So many people from the Black Dragon Guild had died. Seeing that the resistance of the Blood Alliance players in Saga City was getting weaker and weaker, and they were about to succeed in attacking the city, the system suddenly notified them that their home had been stolen. The grievance and regret within could not be described with words. Seeing the system announcement, the Black Dragon Triad players all over the mountains and plains stood outside Saga City in a daze. They didn't know how to express their feelings or vent their anger. The Blood Alliance players, standing on the city walls, could all feel the anger condensing in the air. Without caring about the excitement of escaping death, Blood Red War Flag hurriedly ordered the city gates to be closed, and everyone went offline to rest. Damn, in the city defense battle, just now, Blood Alliance had lost all of their resources and were heavily injured. They couldn't take another round of torture. At the same time, in the discussion hall of Yamatai City, the Black Dragon Guild players who saw the system announcement were stunned for a moment. Then, they all pointed their spears at Wang Yu. They pointed at Wang Yu and cursed. Damn, it's all because of this Chinese guy. Brothers, kill him for me. As they spoke, everyone rushed forward, wanting to chop Wang Yu into minced meat. At this moment, the guards on both sides crossed their weapons in front of Wang Yu and said sternly, "Fighting is not allowed in the mayor's mansion." The Black Dragon Guild's players were in a fit of rage. They had already lost their minds from anger. Seeing that someone dared to stop them, they attacked the guards without saying a word. In the end, they had never suffered at the hands of the guards. These cheats were the representatives of the system, so how could the players provoke them? If it was just a brawl, the guards would at most press this group of daring fellows to the ground for a round of reflection. However, attacking the guards meant declaring war on the game's overgod system. One could imagine the consequences. So young, Wang Yu covered his face and couldn't bear to look at it. The Black Dragon Guild's attacks were useless against the guards. A wave of damage hit the guards, and a string of -1 floated up. This group of cheats, on the other hand, withstood the overwhelming attacks and opened up a formation. With a wave of charge and whirlwind slash, they directly swept away the Black Dragon Guild players in the city hall. TSK, even though Wang Yu already knew that the guard were perverted and unreasonable, he could not help but shake his head and sigh when he saw this scene. After the Black Dragon Guild players were killed, the chaotic city hall suddenly quieted down. Only Wang Yu and a group of guards were left in the hall. Wang Yu was about to get up and leave when a system announcement rang in Wang Yu's ears. System announcement. Player Wuji has become the new city lord of Yamatai City. System announcement. Yamatai City has become a subordinate main city of Yu Huichen. It's over. When these two announcements rang out, the Black Dragon King, who was in despair at the resurrection point, looked even more desolate. The Black Dragon King was also a person who had experienced wind and rain. A momentary failure would not completely destroy him. As long as the main city was still there, even if he was not the city lord, the Black Dragon King would still feel that there was a chance for him to start all over again. But now, not only had Yamatai City changed owners, but it had also become a subordinate main city of another main city, completely erasing the Black Dragon King's last glimmer of hope. After seeing the announcement, Dragon Fong knew that the Black Dragon Guild's power was lost and could not help but ask the Black Dragon King, "Boss, what do we do now?" It had to be said that even though the Black Dragon King had suffered a crushing defeat, he still had the temperament of a leader. Faced with the doubts of his subordinates, the Black Dragon King stood up and said, "We have to leave this place quickly. It doesn't matter if we lose these two main cities. We still have 4 other main cities. As long as we return to our territory, we can make a comeback." Hee hee. As soon as the Black Dragon King finished speaking, a cold laugh came from above. The Black Dragon King hurriedly looked towards the source of the sound and saw a cleric floating in midair, looking down at him. Behind the cleric was a group of players. There were both men and women in this group. All of them had arrogant expressions. It was Chuanjin's group. It's the Blood Alliance. Falcon Dragon had seen Chuanjin's group before. After seeing Wuji's group, he could not help but shout out, Wrong. Bao San corrected him. We are Chuanjin's people. Chuanjin? A ragtag bunch? Hearing Bao San's words, the Black Dragon King and the others were stunned and asked in unison. Although Chuanjin was only slightly famous in the country, they were still a team that had won the Pro League. Now, their reputation was not the same as before. Not only did they become famous in the country, but the top players from other countries had also specially learned about this small team. After all, there would be an international pro league in the future. As the largest guild in the Japanese server, even if they did not know about Chuanjin, they would at least have heard of them. Not bad. Bao San nodded his head, feeling really good. Humans had their own vanity. Seeing that there were still people who recognized them outside of the country, Bao San couldn't help but feel a little smug. Seeing Bao San's happy expression, Chuanjin's group said angrily, "Fop, what are they talking about? Don't be the only one laughing." Bao San had no choice but to repeat it. "Haha, I didn't think that even the Japanese would know about us." Hearing this, Chuanjin's group was all smiles. They didn't hate the Black Dragon King as much as before. "All right, stop acting cool." Wuji curled his lips. "What does the championship have to do with you people? You're talking like you didn't." Everyone looked down on him. "What?" Wuji raised his eyebrows. "If it wasn't for my strategy and old cow strength, you trash wouldn't even be able to enter the preliminaries. F***CK. Shameless. Beat him up." Everyone was infuriated. They grabbed hold of Wuji and started beating him up. Ugh. Looking at Chuanjin's group messing around in midair, the Black Dragon King was speechless. Losing to such a group of people, the Black Dragon King felt really wronged. "Let's go." The Black Dragon King sighed and was about to leave, but before he could take a few steps, Mingdu waved his staff and a mud wall blocked in front of the Black Dragon King and the others. What is the meaning of this?" The Black Dragon King looked at Wuji blankly. "Our Black Dragon Guild and Chuanjin have never had any enmity. Now that Yamatai City has been taken by you, are you still going to hit us when we're down?" In the eyes of the Black Dragon King, the only enemy of the Black Dragon Guild was Blood Alliance. Chuanjin was just a dishonorable character who took advantage of the situation in this city battle. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.